but her huge stomach made her helpless. The maid hurried forward and looked at Yunwoo at a loss. She didn't know what she was going to do next, so she had to comfort her. It's a good thing to be able to eat. Don't worry. Tomorrow may be better, the maid said anxiously. Yunwoo nodded and didn't want to talk at all. The maid filled her with a bowl of water and slowly fed her to drink. Then she picked up her things and left. Curled up on the boulder for a long time, the feeling of digesting food in her stomach made the clouds dance in cold sweat. She clenched her teeth and her eyes were full of pain. The fat baby seemed to feel her pain, and the dancing became more intense. Finally, Yunwoo, who had been tortured, couldn't help crying out. Her eyes were full of tears, but she bit her teeth to keep the tears from flowing down. It wasn't until after a long time that Yunwoo finally vomited. She felt that the pain in her stomach had been alleviated. Her cold sweat made her feel that her whole body was soaked with sweat. She was paralyzed on the stone for a long time and didn't respond. The sweat was blown by the cold wind in the dark place, and it was cold again. Yunwoo vomited. He didn't know whether it was the feeling in his heart or the function of food. With a little strength, he was suddenly upset. I don't know where Longqingxi is, where Shangwan are, and what happened to Yunfu. Now, is there any meaning in my persistence and struggle? She lay on the boulder, closed her eyes, and again tried to explore the child in her stomach. She never gave up every day. Over and over again, she just wanted to see how magical the child was. Cloud Dance is still trying to see the situation of his stomach. After swimming the fighting spirit around, he suddenly finds that his fighting spirit can actually see the situation in his stomach. A burst of excitement in my heart. I rushed to pour all the fighting spirit into my stomach. Suddenly, in the blurred vision, a chubby baby appeared in the middle of his stomach. The baby's body size was beyond the size of the baby in labor. The big one seemed to be a child of 1 or 2 years old. At this time, he shrank in his own stomach. Obviously, he was very wronged. This small place could not hold him anymore. At this time, he seemed to be angry at any time I'm going to burst my stomach everywhere. Yunwoo's stomach was propped up by him. He felt that it was about to explode, but he continued to move uneasily. The dark smell from his whole body made Yunwoo frown. The feeling of this child is really uncomfortable. With a sigh in her heart, she was thinking, why does this child only absorb the energy of darkness, but not the energy of light? It is clear that the dragon and himself are two different systems. Does this child only inherit the system of dragon? All of a sudden, Yunwoo felt the strong breath of life from the fat baby, which surprised her very much. She could finally feel the baby. However, she could not help frowning, because at this time, she suddenly felt that the person who released the breath of life was not just a fat baby. In her feeling, it seems that there are two at the same time. In her stomach, she slowly swam the fighting spirit all over her stomach. In the dark environment of her stomach, Yunwoo searched among them. She was very curious. Who was this other breath of life coming from? Suddenly, the fighting spirit of Cloud Dance wants to touch with that breath. All of a sudden, Yunwoo felt that the breath was in front of her and hastened to make the fighting spirit close to the breath. But what she saw next made her heart sink suddenly, and her mind almost fainted with a buzzing sound, because she saw, under the fat baby, in a small corner, a small, weak, smoking baby curled up there. It seemed that his body size was not as big as that of the fat baby. Moreover, he has shortness of breath, unstable heartbeat, and nearly transparent skin. Obviously, he is very weak and malnourished. This little baby has been pushed out by fat baby for a long time and can't get nutrients at all. Yunwoo looked closer, only to find that the breath of light emitted by the baby was clear, and the baby actually absorbed the power of light. That is to say, the two constitutions of one light and one dark existed in the two babies. But now in the dark, the baby with light constitution has no energy to absorb, and the crazy growth of the baby with dark constitution has created today's situation. The baby with light constitution almost died in her abdomen, and she is very weak. If she doesn't absorb energy as soon as possible, I'm afraid she will die in her stomach. Cloud Dance gently will fight around the child, The child seems to feel the mother's care in general, suddenly moved twice, clearly clenched small fist, suddenly opened toward the direction of fighting, slowly opened his arm. He wanted to ask for a hug. Cloud danced in the heart of a warm, but a burst of sadness. How could this child be treated like this? I can't help blaming myself. If I could see the situation in my stomach earlier, I wouldn't be concerned about the child's growth. Now think about it. The reason why I am so sad and painful is that the child with light constitution has not absorbed his own energy. Therefore, his body has been eroded by the dark energy step by step. So he's so weak now. After thinking about the cause and effect, Yunwoo suddenly froze. Because she suddenly remembered what Yes said at that time. The child in her stomach needs to absorb the dark energy to thrive. In other words, Ye clearly knows the specific situation of this child, but he did not say that he has another child in his stomach. Yunwoo's heart suddenly burst into anger, which made her gnash her teeth angrily. This night, since we can see the situation in her stomach, how can we not see it? In fact, there are 2 children in her stomach. What's his peace of mind? Will only one of the children absorb energy and not supply it to the other child, and want to raise the baby of dark constitution and kill the baby of light constitution? What is his intention? He clenched his fists gradually, took back his fighting spirit slowly, opened his eyes, and gritted his teeth. This night, I really don't know what his mind is thinking. Is this person a good person or a bad person? Is he on his side or on another unknown opposite? To think about it, those who capture the dragon's evil spirit are the people who are at odds with themselves. In the dark, the angry Cloud Dance finally forced herself to calm down and pressed her anger to the bottom of her heart, which made her dizzy and more uncomfortable. At this time, she was very weak. If she had any conflict with the night people here, it might be very bad for her. What's more, it's the Knight's territory. We can't scare the snake at this time. What's more, Knight doesn't intend to let her know that she has 2 children in her stomach, which must have some purpose. So now I can only do everything I can to hide my child's situation and then find a time to leave here quietly, which is the most important thing. Obviously, the maid was watching her under the banner of delivering food every day, and Knight, for such a long time, has not seen the Knight. Cloud Dance does not know what is going on, but in the dark, Cloud Dance feels that the purpose of Knight is not simple. Moreover, perhaps it is because of this child that his body is becoming thinner and weaker. Perhaps, when a child with bright constitution grows up, she will not lose both of them. In the cold and dark place, every day is full of depression and pain, but now the Cloud Dance suddenly has a general motivation and strong spirit. Yunwoo forced himself to sit up from the boulder, supported his huge stomach, folded his legs, closed his eyes, and put the fighting spirit in his body back into operation. This time, it was different from usual, because at this time, a strong desire for survival rose in Yunwoo's heart, for himself and his children. The maid came to deliver the meal again. When she came into the dark place with her food box, she just saw the Cloud dancing, which was weak and could not move. She was sitting on the boulder and was quiet. Although she was so weak, she was still afraid of the pressure from her body. She stepped back, stepped on the stone, and nearly fell down. She could not help but exclaimed. Cloud Dance opened her eyes and said, "Are you here?" At this time, the feeling of the whole body of Yunwoo is different from that in the past. In ordinary days, Yunwoo is weak and can't open her eyes. Today, I don't know why it just looks tired. Although Cloud Dance still looks so thin and weak, but obviously, the breath has been strong a lot. The maid stepped back and swallowed. Miss Yunwoo. She carefully looked at Yunwoo. You feel better recently? Well, it's better. Thanks to your care these days. Yunwoo lowers his head and smiles, walks down from the huge stone, and sits next to it. The maid still put the food in front of Yunwoo. Yunwoo girl, you look good today. You better try to eat some. Yunwoo smiles, walks down the boulder, and takes the chopsticks. The maid quietly gives Yunwoo food and water. Yunwoo sits beside the stone and looks at the busy maid with great interest. The maid seemed to feel Yunwoo's eyes. She raised her head timidly and looked at Yunwoo. Then she quickly lowered her head and continued to pack. Yunwoo thinks it's funny. It's like this person is exposing something in front of him. He's afraid of his hands and feet. "Are you the man of the night?" Yunwoo leaned against the boulder and asked suddenly. Smelling the taste of food, her stomach surged, but she bit her teeth, reached for chopsticks, and tried to eat the dishes on the plate. The maid was a little flustered. She lowered her head and nodded. "It's the adult who asked me to take care of you. The adult said that if I can't take care of Yunwoo girl well, it will kill me." "What time is it outside now?" Cloud Dance filled the bowl of porridge, took a sip, and took a deep breath. "What about the night? Why don't you come?" "Miss Cloud Dance, the night master has a lot of time to do and has no time to see you every day. Please don't blame the night master." The maid seemed very flustered. "It's night outside now. So did the night say anything about me?" Cloud Dance said, and then a spoonful of porridge to drink, a red eye, swallowing saliva, stomach down the river, and then a spoonful of porridge. "No, Lord Knight just said, let me meet all the requirements of Yunwoo girl." The maidservant looked at Yunwoo eating for a long time. Yunwoo never ate a few mouthfuls of food, but she was eating all the time today. To her surprise, she was also very surprised. She quickly gave Yunwoo something to eat. All the requirements, why the words are so funny, make Yunwoo almost laugh. "Then I want to go out. Can you satisfy me?" Cloud Dance raises eyes. One eye is full of unfathomable with irony. Sure enough, the maid looked around in panic, then lowered her head, thought for a while, and slowly shook her head. "Lord Knight said that all the requirements can meet you except to let you leave." Cloud Dance did not speak, but just a faint smile, continued to eat. It's not that she's better, but that she has the motivation to eat even if she vomit. In order to save her physical strength, she turns to look at her maid one day, but she looks very flustered. She always looks around and doesn't know what she's afraid of. "I haven't eaten so much food in my stomach for a long time." After holding up too much food, Yunwoo suddenly felt that his stomach was torn and he was sweating. But maybe it was because of the hope that she had a better appetite and more food. Yunwoo resisted her discomfort, forced her nausea, and turned pale. "Miss Cloud Dance, I think the Night Lord may be really for you." The maid said such a strange word, then continued to bow her head, looked at the dishes in front of her, and said nothing. "Will you keep me here for my own good?" Yunwoo sighed, shaking his head helplessly, lowered his head and continued to pick up the food with chopsticks and put it into his mouth. "What's the plan of the night? I don't think you're a bad person. Why don't you just tell me here? I won't tell you." The maid was a little flustered. She looked around, then shook her head and kept on lowering her head. Cloud Dance also frowns. This woman is really strange. Can't you say that Night doesn't let her say anything? Or who's watching her? Pursed his mouth, the mouth of things barely swallow, looking at the plate of things have gone. Take porridge SIP down, a warm stomach after a stab. Yunwoo feels that the fat baby in her stomach is moving. There is another nausea in her stomach. She covers her mouth and her eyes are red. She is forced to resist the nausea. "Miss Cloud Dance, are you okay? Have some water." The maid quickly came forward, put a bowl in front of Yunwoo, and fed it to Yunwoo's mouth. Yunwoo took 2 draughts of water and finally felt more comfortable. He took a deep breath and looked down for a moment. The maid was very kind to herself, but she seemed to be on guard. The maidservant never talks much and does not care. She just does her job well and answers her questions in a safe way. And every time she asked about the night, the maid was in a panic, which made Yunwoo feel a little strange. "Well, what is the Night doing now? And how long is he going to come to see me?" Cloud Dance bowed his head to meditate, and then asked unintentionally, "I haven't seen him for some time." "Well, I don't know." The maid continued to lower her head. "The Night Master said that as long as he is free, he will surely come to see Yunwoo girl." "Do you know what kind of alien world we are in now?" Cloud Dance asked again. The maidservant still shook her head. "I don't know, because I was also brought by Lord Yi from the human world." Clearly nodded, Cloud Dance squinted, silent for a long time, and asked, "Do you know the true identity of a knight?" The maidservant looked up at the Cloud Dance for a long time. Her eyes were full of confusion. After thinking for a while, she slowly shook her head. Then, the maidservant began not to speak. She just hesitated and agreed. Later, when she asked again, The maid didn't say a word. Finally, seeing that Yunwoo had finished eating, she packed up her things, stood up, and bowed to Yunwoo, then turned and left. After a long time, Yunwoo finally felt less disgusted, so she propped up her heavy body. The huge baby's legs were shaking. If it wasn't for her strong physical fitness, I'm afraid her legs would be broken now. Just touch the warm food. The whole body finally had a trace of warmth at this time. Once again, touch the ice-cold boulder. Suddenly another shiver. Yunwoo's face is very ugly, but just tightly pursed his mouth silent. Yunwoo sat back on the boulder and sneered in his heart. For my good, how could he ignore another child? I'm afraid it's time to do something with your children. Cloud danced sneer in the heart. This kind of thing, how can let him succeed? Close your eyes and see another weak child in the body. This child is very tenacious. Although he's been squeezed by the fat baby and is dying, he is still breathing tenaciously. His small stomach is fluctuating. Obviously, the rhythm of breathing is not stable, sometimes fast and sometimes slow, which is not like a healthy and normal person. However, such a small body, even if he has only a little space to nourish him, is also growing slowly. Yunwoo felt soft. The child was so weak that she didn't know whether the source of her life would work for him, but she had to try. She couldn't watch her child die in her abdomen, so she closed her eyes with the attitude of trying, separated the source of life in her body, and gave it to her little body. But unexpectedly, let her surprise scene appeared. A small person is like a small animal that hasn't eaten for a long time. Before touching his body, the source of life has been felt by him and absorbed by him in an instant. He seems to feel the vitality, and the whole person is active. However, Yunwoo frowned again. Such a small body can't grow up in such a dark place. It must be allowed to absorb the energy of light. There was a sense of decadence in my heart. Looking at the strong, dark atmosphere in the dark place, I can imagine the devastation of the bright baby here. Yunwoo sat on the boulder, stunned for a long time, and thought that it would not work. Then she closed her eyes and separated a wisp of life from the baby again. Sure enough, this little source of life was quickly absorbed by him. Cloud Dance can feel. This baby body immediately sent out a shallow, warm energy. However, the power was so weak that she could hardly feel it, but she was very happy in her heart. She finally understood that although the child is very dangerous now, for the moment, she can continue the child's life in this way. Even so, it can't make him grow up. I'm afraid it's just keeping him alive. But after a long time, the child will be out of breath. Now, give him the source of life every day to ensure that the child can live before she leaves here safely. However, she is worried that if the child survives in such a small environment, it will not bring any bad effects. She gently stroked her stomach. Her skin was morbid pale because she had not been exposed to the sun for a long time. Her blood vessels were clearly visible. Yunwoo's eyes were full of worry. The fat baby in her stomach felt Yunwoo's touch and became active. Yunwoo frowned slightly. This feeling made her feel suffocated and painful. She lowered her head to meditate and frowned. Neither of the two children was willing to give up. Under such circumstances, she could only protect the weak child in this way. The child with dark constitution has almost absorbed the power of darkness at this time. Even if he leaves here, he can survive safely. It's just that if she doesn't leave here, not only his other child, I'm afraid she'll be dead soon. She was more and more angry about why the night would hide the situation of another child, and she was more and more alert to the night. She was thinking about leaving this place unconsciously. So she began to practice with her knees crossed, trying to enrich her weak body. She thought that even if she could recover some energy here, she could make some plans for the future escape. At the same time, he thought about the strategy of leaving in his mind. Unknowingly, after a circle of fighting spirit in the body, Yunwoo already felt the breath was smoother. She opened her eyes and vomited. Although her body is still very weak now, it is much stronger than a few days ago. The food in the stomach is basically digested. Although it's still nauseous, it can be overcome. This is a good start. Yunwoo sits for a rest, climbs down from the boulder, holds his stomach, and moves forward slowly in the dark. This place has never been moved since Yunwoo came in. She has never been anywhere to observe it, except for the maid who brought food and washed it after she came. Walking along the darkness, the cloud, dancing eyes finally adapted to the darkness here. She walked forward carefully and saw that the place in the dark place was very open, and the boulder was only a small part of the dark place. Cloud, dance vomited a breath, the stomach-heavy fall of her affliction. She had to hold a hand stomach, continue to grope forward. Countless strange stones are standing nearby. Looking up, you can see that the top is also full of strange stones, and bats with red eyes are hanging upside down. But I don't know why they're all quiet, and they won't disperse because of the arrival of Cloud Dance. This surprised Yunwoo. After all, I haven't seen these bats for so long. After a long walk, Yunwoo was a little tired, so he had to sit down and have a rest. It turns out that the dark place is a very flat and wide cave, which is so big that the clouds can't imagine, and there is no place to avoid. This makes Yunwoo very uncomfortable. This cave is clearly a huge cell, which traps Yunwoo firmly in it. It seems that there is only one exit from the top to the underground, and there is no other way to go. Since the night brings me to this place, it means that he must be very clear about this place. Therefore, there must be someone guarding the very narrow passageway, and it doesn't need much. As long as one person guards, Cloud Dance can't get out. Yunwoo began to look for all the ways to get out, but after a long time, Yunwoo still didn't find out where to leave except the staircase leading to the middle of the mountain. The dark place is so terrible that the clouds can't see the place far away, so they pick up a stone from the ground and throw it in. The stone strikes the ground and makes a sound, and the echo reaches far away. Frowning, Yunwoo listens to the echo in front of him. He feels that there is still a long way to go. He thinks that maybe he can find a new way forward if he continues to walk. So Yunwoo steps forward again. The huge belly pressure Cloud Dance steps falter. After a while, Cloud Dance, already tired, panting, sweat, and picked up the stone to throw forward, heard that there is still a long distance ahead. Turning to look at the road when she came over, it was obvious that she had gone a long way. Her legs trembled with fatigue, and finally she could not hold on. Yunwoo sat on the ground and closed her eyes. This time, Yunwoo found that she really couldn't walk anymore. Vomit breath will relax the whole body. Sitting on the ground, the bat with red eyes on the head seems to be watching her covetously, let her a little palpitation. The cold in the cave is not as cold as the bone marrow on the boulder. The Cloud Dance even feels a little warm here, and the little life in the belly seems to have a feeling at this time, and the breath of life is a little stronger. After sleeping on the cave wall for a while, Yunwoo opens her eyes and still sees darkness. In the dark place, she can't tell the day from the dark. Yunwoo holds the wall, stands up, and goes on. In this way has been walking, but still did not see the end of the road. Yunwoo feels a little disappointed while slowly groping. Occasionally, there will be a bat with red eyes on the road, which pounces on her and is killed by her. The whole dark place is echoing. Yunwoo turned to look behind him, sighed, and continued to grope around to see if there was any place to leave. I don't know how long I've been walking, and I haven't walked so much for a long time. Stop to take a breath, Cloud Dance cross-knee, and sit. Look at his stomach, but found that the belly of the child and some of the depression. Obviously, it's been a long time since he was given the source of life last time. So Yunwoo separated a strand of the source of life and gave it to the baby, and the weak baby began to have a trace of vitality again. Seeing that the little baby is alive in his own stomach, Yunwoo has power again. After a long time of practicing and breathing, his face has gradually recovered, and he feels that his body has strength. Waiting for the child to get up again, Yunwoo stood up and continued to walk forward. She thought that maybe she had gone too far behind, so she just went on. So, slowly forward. Because of the activity, she didn't feel cold. She felt for the surrounding mountain wall and walked slowly. But it didn't come to an end. This is strange, Yunwoo thought. When she came in, she clearly felt that the dark place was not very big. However, when she came down, she found that it was much bigger than she thought. At least, I've been gone for a long time, but I still haven't come to the end. Suddenly, Yunwoo saw a huge stone standing not far away. Suddenly stunned, that piece of rock is not the one you cultivate on it. Cold sweat makes her frown, looking at the stone in front of her, silent for a long time. Or, that stone is another stone? If you walk in a straight line, you must be far away from this stone. Now, how can you appear behind you? He went to the stone in the middle and looked around. He found that it was the stone he was practicing on, and it didn't even differ in shape. He sighed dejectedly. Yunwoo slowly walked back to the edge of the boulder in the middle and sat down. He suddenly felt a sweat on his body. He was shivered by the cold air, and his teeth trembled. He leaned against the boulder and soaked his marrow with chills. Rubbing his hands, Yunwoo closed his eyes and tried to get in touch with the contract beast again, but failed. He sat back on the stone and continued to practice. Just sweating body, and began to form ice crystals, and then by cloud dance with fighting spirit transpiration away. She frowned, take care of her body, and look at the two children. Yunwoo girl, have dinner. The maid came again. It was obvious that a day had passed. She opened her eyes and breathed. Yunwoo walked down the boulder again. Cloud Dance is still thinking. If you and Knight face-to-face confrontation, how much are their chances of winning? Although my body is very weak, I still have some ability. If I practice more frequently, maybe I will not be so vulnerable when I encounter Knight. Cloud Dance is still practicing every day, but it still doesn't give up looking for other exits. It's the last plan. Knight did not appear from Cloud Dance into this place to now. Knight did not appear once, only sent the maid. Yunwoo was a little relieved, thinking that maybe Knight didn't care much about her own life. In this way, if she met other people, she still had a chance to beat them and leave here. After another day's rest, Yunwoo plucked up her courage and planned to go to the entrance. The torches at the entrance were extinguished one by one. It seemed that they would be lit only when night came. The maidservant also carried a small candlestick to light the road ahead. Yunwoo looked down at the steps at her feet and walked up step by step. There was no way to wave Guwu Degeo in this narrow place, so she found a sharp stone to hide behind her and walked up slowly. The higher you go, the warmer you feel. Yunwoo finally feels more comfortable. But when I slowly came to the entrance of the dark place, I saw two people outside, wearing black robes, standing quietly outside the door, a dead silence. Yunwoo was standing at the entrance. Before he planned to do anything, he saw the black-robed man in front of him suddenly put out his hand and stop the entrance. At this time, the two black-robed people's whole body sent out the prestige, which made Yunwoo frown. The feeling of these two people is too strong. If we let Yunwoo fight against them in the same way as before, we can win. Yunwoo pursed her lips. Now in this situation, she can only be soft, not tough. So Yunwoo turned and went down. When I went back to the ground, I obviously felt that the fat baby was very active and continued to sit on the boulder. Every day after that, Yunwoo would deliberately draw out a wisp of the source of life and give it to the dying baby. After the baby regularly replenished the source of life, his body did not further deteriorate. Yunwoo was relieved and felt that her body was recovering day by day. At this time, Yunwoo had begun to prepare her escape plan. This night, she finally sacrificed her ancient sword and waved it up and down in her hand. She was weak and weak. She didn't pick up the sword as smoothly as before, but it would be okay if she fought. At least in Yunwoo's opinion, the realm of the two guards at the gate is certainly not as high as that of the knight. In the current situation, if they break through by force, they still have a good chance of winning. Yunwoo collected a lot of sharp stones in the dark place and polished them on a rough stone. She didn't have any short weapons on her body. She felt that she suffered some losses. He polished the weapon with difficulty. Yunwoo picked up the stone weapon like a dagger and waved it in his hand twice. He nodded with satisfaction. At least, it's much more convenient to use than the big weapon like Guwu dagger. He pinned the dagger behind his waist, and Yunwoo polished several small stones into small stone beads as weapons. Everything is ready. Yunwoo hides everything on her body and sits quietly on the boulder. She plans to have a rest and wait for her maidservant to leave. After a while, the maid came in from the outside with her food box. She looked a little flustered. She turned her head and looked behind her. Then she hesitated for a while. Then she said slowly, "Yunwoo girl, come to dinner." Yunwoo opened his eyes and said with a smile, "I trouble you so much every day." Cloud dance, long time no see. Behind the maid, a familiar voice suddenly came. Let Cloud dance suddenly heart a tight, smiled doing show. "Night, how do you come?" Today's night, let Cloud dance suddenly feel very strange. Although his appearance did not change, his evil smile did not change, but he sent out a dark gas. This dark air is about to soar up and wrap his whole body. Although he still smiles and talks with Yunwoo as before, Yunwoo always feels that there is inexplicable strangeness hidden in this person's smile. The appearance of a night makes Yunwoo feel full of crisis. Originally, she had made all preparations to leave here, but now she is disillusioned because of the appearance of the night. She is angry in her heart, but she hears the voice of night joking. "I think you are in good health now. It seems that my servants take good care of you these days." The radiance of the corner of his mouth makes Yunwoo feel a little uncomfortable. His body instinctively dislikes and repels him, and even makes a defensive reaction unconsciously. His fighting spirit suddenly envelopes his whole body. The murderous gas emitted from Yunwoo's body is like a cat seeing a stranger. "What are you doing here? Aren't you busy?" Cloud Dance squints her eyes and looks at the night that seems very happy in front of her. Night walked forward 2 steps, a little closer to the cloud. Yunwoo took a step back and frowned more tightly. She suddenly escaped the stone dagger from her back waist and stabbed at Night's face. But in front of her, the Night seemed a lot lighter. He turned his face, avoided Yunwoo's attack, stepped back, and stood 2 steps away from Yunwoo. "Yunwoo, you are still the same as before." He waved his hands and said with a smile, "Don't panic. You're not good for the baby in your stomach." Yunwoo didn't speak, just quietly holding the dagger in his hand, watching him warily. After a pause in the night, he suddenly raised his hand and snatched the dagger from Yunwoo like lightning. The dagger made of stone is not very hard. At this time, he was caught by the night and fell to the ground. "Cloud Dance, how can you start when you don't agree with each other? You're too grumpy. It's not good for the growth of children. You'd better change your temper." Night raised his hand to pull Cloud Dance's hand, to push back. The cloud danced and fell beside the huge stone. Night lunged forward, squat down, looking at the Cloud Dance. Good-looking face is joking smile. "Cloud Dance, you have to eat well, practice well, absorb more dark energy so that children can grow up healthily." Seeing that Yunwoo was very cautious and exclusive, the Night couldn't help laughing and sighed helplessly. "You don't have to care. This kind of exclusion is very normal because I belong to the dark faction like Long Qingxie. You are a member of the bright race. You will definitely reject the people of the dark faction." For this, Cloud Dance Heart is very disdain. Heart also just listened to it. Now still can't in Night confrontation, so at this time can only choose to silence down. But the funny thing is that she has never been repelled by the evil breath of the dragon. So it must be something wrong with the Night. Yunwoo lowered his head and pondered for a moment. He sat up silently and leaned against the boulder. Finally, he raised his head and said to the Night, "It's not that I'm grumpy, but because this place is too depressing. I want to leave the dark place." The child in his stomach is going to die soon, Yunwoo thought, but now he can only pretend he doesn't know. "I can't stand it. If it goes on like this, I may go crazy. Don't forget, I'm from the light faction. Of course, I'm very exclusive of dark energy." So say, Cloud Dance's eyes have a little expression, but in the heart is secretly thinking about how can Night to persuade. Night sighed, turned to take the maid's food box, took out the water and food, put on the ground, cross-legged and sat down, indicating that Yunwoo also sat down. "Yunwoo, you can rest assured I will take care of you. There's still 3 days your child will be born. So now, you'd better calm down and spend the last 3 days." 3 days? 3 days to go before the baby is born? The birth of this baby probably means that the child with bright constitution will not be able to continue to absorb his own nutrients. So it means that his other child will die. She secretly clenched her teeth and was very angry. She would never allow the child to die in her stomach for a long time. He has to survive. Yunwoo clenched her fist and narrowed her eyes slightly. Moreover, this night must be a plot for her child. Otherwise, she would not take care of herself for no reason. He turned his head and looked at the maid, but she lowered her head and said nothing. Anyway, hold him steady first. Cloud Dance thinks so in the heart, but lowers the head to smile, sighed. Well, then I listen to you. Wait a little longer. Maybe really like what you said. After listening to Yunwoo's words, he finally laughed and gave Yunwoo the food on his plate. Eat more. Cloud Dance nods and smiles, silently eating, but gradually cold eyes. This place said nothing can stay. Within 2 days, you must let yourself leave here. Otherwise, the other child's life will be lost. However, the most important thing now is where Long Qingxie is and whether he has anything to do with it. Yunwoo thinks to herself. She touches her stomach and continues to eat. And the maid saw that Yunwoo was eating incense. So she rushed forward and pushed all the dishes in front of her. After seeing off Yi and her maid, Yunwoo sits back on the boulder and closes her eyes. She decided to postpone this action until tomorrow. Because she has proposed to go out today, she will be more defensive tonight. Therefore, it is not appropriate to scare the snake now. So just dive down and try to get the best out of yourself. Sitting on the boulder and closing her eyes, she gave the baby a ray of life and continued to regulate her breath carefully. Finally, she felt more physical. Yunwoo thought that the 3rd day the child would be born. She opened her eyes and checked her weapons. Then she got up and went to the door. In the dark place, Yunwoo moves forward cautiously. In her present state, she must be very careful to leave here. If there's a little disturbance to the 2 guards at the door, there is probably no possibility to continue. Yunwoo went to the narrow staircase, looked up, and sipped his mouth. Then he held the dagger in his hand and climbed the steps step by step. On the steps, Yunwoo found that there was no guard in front of him, and he didn't understand what was going on. But Yunwoo was relieved and touched his stomach. Yunwoo quietly went out from the entrance. At the door, a warm wind made the Cloud Dance comfortable. I couldn't help taking a breath and walking forward. However, a black figure suddenly appeared in front of him, blocking the way of Cloud Dance. Cloud Dance, where are you going? Night smile, as if in a good mood. Is it difficult to be hungry today? Can't wait for my people to give you food? Going out to find food? Yunwoo's eyes are cold, and he looks at the night without blinking, but the night seems not to see it. The nameless anger in his heart rushes straight to the top of his head. Yunwoo feels that he may be able to pinch the neck of the night in the next second. This man really makes people gnash their teeth. He clearly has been tracking himself and monitoring himself. He says that he has no time to see, but in fact he has been observing in the dark for a long time. In the heart is agitated. Cloud Dance raises head, looking at Night. The tone is cold. What purpose do you have after all? Helpless smile. Night touched his nose, as if very innocent, looking at the cloud, said, How can I have any purpose? I just care about you, this friend. Now your body is so weak, you do not cultivate well, but also from the run out, not good for you, not good for children. With these words, it feels like a husband who has a relationship with his wife. But Cloud Dance sounds a little changed. I'm afraid you want my child? Yunwoo is thinking about it in his heart. If it's not good to talk about it next, he'll have a hard time with him. He's a little nervous. After all, he's carrying 3 lives. But if this continues, who knows what the night will do? How can you say that to me? You see, I sent people to send you food and water, change your clothes, and ask your servants about your health every day. How can I do it for anything? It would hurt my heart too much. The voice seems to be with helpless and innocent, but how can Yunwoo believe him? Cloud Dance lowered his head. Tone became firm. I have to leave here. Then he turned and walked forward. Unexpectedly, the night behind him suddenly grasped Yunwoo's wrist, so powerful that Yunwoo couldn't break away. He turned his head and glared at the night, but saw the night laughing happily. Yunwoo, it's very dangerous for you to go out alone. 2 days later, I don't care where you want to go. I know that you are very urgent to find Long Qingxie, but since I have called you, I have to be responsible for you in the end. Cloud, dance, eyes a cold, will fight over the palm of the hand, hard to beat to the knight. I didn't expect that knight would raise her hand to dissolve Yunwu's attack, but that hand was still holding Yunwu's arm. How on earth can you let me go? The cloud dances in a cold voice. Yunwu, don't forget that I'm the one who gave you the strength of earth. Are you really so ungrateful? The voice of the knight suddenly increased, obviously a little angry. The power of earth? Yeah, if it wasn't for that, he could call himself a friend and get close to them. But I don't believe you. Yunwu shakes off the hand of Knight. Unexpectedly, the knight suddenly came to the front of Yunwu, stopped Yunwu, so fast that Yunwu didn't come back, and the knight was smiling. But Cloud Dance always feels that the smile of the knight is full of threats. The scene suddenly fell into a stalemate, as if the battle between the two was imminent. In the upper boundary, near the border, Xiao Chou is sitting in a tea house temporarily to have a rest. Oh, my guest, what can I do for you? The shopkeeper saw Meng by coming straight to the door of the shop with sharp eyes, and quickly welcomed him with a smile. Meng by doesn't pay attention to it. He sweeps around the small shop and finally points to the little stink. The little stink quickly greets him. Already, little stink made a ready-to-serve gesture to the waiter and asked Meng Bai after the waiter left. Well, it's all ready. Meng Bai said, we're going to the most shady place. This is the last stop where there are still people. After we leave here, there's a deserted place. We need to prepare a lot of things. Fortunately, there's a grocery market not far away, and we have collected all the things. Meng Bai said the shop boy just came up with the food and put the little stinky things on the table. Small Stink is not stingy and rewards some money. Shop boy immediately left with a smile. They stopped talking until they had eaten all the things on the table, and then they put down their chopsticks one after another. I don't know what happened to them, whether they found anything. Meng Bai suddenly said such a sentence. Small Stink is drinking soup hand meal, then tilted his head to think, said, I think they must have been to the place, at least Chi night they should have arrived. The map of the upper bound is irregular. We go a lot farther than them, and the position of the transmission array is closer to them. In a word, we will be able to see them when we go back. Meng Bai nodded and said, that's right. We have to speed up again. If we delay one more day, the little dance will be dangerous. Small stinky eyes flashed as serious, nodded, and then put down the bowl. Just as they were about to leave, they suddenly saw a team of officers and soldiers come in. As soon as they came in, they yelled at the door, don't move. All sit down. Is the shopkeeper in? Come out. Meng Bai's palm moved, and he pressed the little smelly hand directly. What's the matter? Xiao Smelly looked at him suspiciously. They don't care about this kind of thing. First of all, these officers and soldiers can't beat him. As long as they report their identities, don't they have to be obedient? Are you afraid of them? Little Smelly looked puzzled and saw Meng Bai's finger. He pointed to a pile of portraits in the hands of the officers and soldiers at the head. What was revealed was that he could see a pair of eyes painted vividly. Just one eye could clearly see that the person in the portrait was Cloud Dancing. Small Stink instantly calmed down. Two people honestly sitting in their own position, looking at the group of officers. Fortunately, they were sitting in a remote place, and the officers and soldiers just stood at the door, so they didn't recognize them. Just now, in the busy tavern, it became quiet and looked at each other one by one. I didn't understand what had happened in this small place, which had never been a big deal. So many officers and soldiers could go out together. Soon, the shopkeeper got the news and immediately came out from behind. When he saw the people coming, he was busy to meet them. Maybe the officers and soldiers usually had some prestige, and the shopkeeper's face was respectful. I don't know if you have any orders when you come to the shop? The shopkeeper asked with a smile. The officer and soldier were not polite either. With a shake of his hand, a pile of portraits immediately unfolded and said, have you ever seen this woman? The shopkeeper looked up and was amazed by the man in the picture. In a flash, he felt familiar, but he couldn't remember where he had seen it. This eye looked familiar, but I can't remember. At this time, a man behind the soldiers said, brother, you forget, this is the famous Miss Yunwu. You can't ask like this. Miss Cloud, Dance, the shopkeeper heard a scream. I said how familiar it is. That's right. It's Miss Yunwu who took us to kill the Beast Gate. What? Miss Cloud Dance. As soon as the shopkeeper's voice fell, other people in the tavern were boiling. Although not everyone has seen the appearance of Yunwu, don't forget that Yunwu has made great contributions to the attack on the Beast Gate. Just listening to the name, you'll feel like a thunderbolt. If you can see one side of Yunwu, you will be afraid to show off for a lifetime. Are you looking for Miss Yunwu? Is Miss Yunwu here again? Oh my God, Miss Yunwu, if only I could meet you. Xiao Smelly and Shangwan look at each other. They don't know what's going on. Unexpectedly, Cloud Dance has such a great influence on the people. Even such a remote corner of the upper world worships her so fiercely. The two looked at each other and decided to keep quiet for the time being. If these people knew that they were also one of the generals who killed the Beast Gate, they would be surrounded by fans. Have you seen her? The officers and soldiers frowned and asked the shopkeeper. See you? The shopkeeper's embarrassed smile. It's a joke. Miss Yunwu is a person in the human world. She left after hearing about the war. How could a little person like us have met her? But everyone knows her appearance. Even if she hasn't seen it with her own eyes, I've seen a lot of portraits. I'm sure she'll be familiar. The first officer and soldier was reminded by his subordinates and shopkeeper's words, and then realized that he had asked a stupid question. Forget it, forget it. The leader waved his hand, then raised his voice and said to the people in the tavern, Everyone listen to me. Miss Yunwu led us to destroy the Beast Gate. She was very kind to us. Without her, we would still live under the oppression of the Beast Gate. So, you said, if Miss Cloud Dance has something to do, should we help? Help. You have to help, said someone in the tavern at once. What's the matter? Do we need to unite? If so, I'll be the first to sign up. He who dares to trouble Miss Yunwu will trouble us. A strong man of 5 big 3 rough said, a face of justice, awe-inspiring. Yes, Miss Yunwu has protected us, so we should protect her when she is in danger. The reaction of the masses obviously satisfied the officers and soldiers. Then the leader raised his hand and suppressed the sound of the scene. Then he said, well, since you all think so, let me hear it clearly. We all know what happened to Miss Yunwu the day before her wedding, so we should know that Miss Yunwu is still in a coma. But now things have changed again. New changes. Little Stink and Meng Bai are trembling in their hearts. When they leave Yunwu, there is nothing wrong with them. Now they say that there's a new change? 2 people's hearts suddenly nervous, but count up they left just soon. Even if it is to happen, there should not be too much change. And according to the words of Night, Cloud Dance should not be affected now, so it can't be consumed by extreme speed. What is it? Then he heard the official continue to say, not long ago, a mysterious man appeared and gave away to rescue Miss Yunwu. But unexpectedly, this man was a wolf. He tried to get rid of the experts around Miss Yunwu. Under the condition that the Cloud family trusted him so much, he took away Miss Yunwu impressively. What? Bang! A loud noise. Abruptly we'll hear the news shock people wake up from the shock. Everyone turned around one after another, only to see that Xiao Smelly was covered in the golden light, and his temperament was extremely sacred. However, his face was gloomy and frightening, and all the people present were scared. It's really strange. Who is this man? Suddenly, what's the matter? My God, what a strong breath. Meng Bai was also very angry, but he restrained himself rationally. He quickly came forward and pressed Xiao Cho down, patted him on the shoulder, and said seriously, Don't worry, now you're angry. We don't know who abducted Xiao Wu, and we don't know how she is now. Small Stink body up and down wrapped with golden light, finally in Meng Bai's kind persuasion, gradually subsided. Meng Bai smiles and apologizes to the people around him one by one. Then he sits down and says, What can we do now? Or we'll go back to Yunfu directly. But little Stinky sat there quietly with a cold face and thought for a long time, then suddenly said, No, since we are all here, it's a pity to go back now. If there's a way to kill the child and let Yunwu wake up, we must have a try. But what if that night is false? Meng Bai frowned and fell into meditation. That place is not far away from us. Little Stink looked around. After the inn went out, less than 200 miles ahead, there was a barren swamp and grassland. In front of it, there was a gray and black landscape, full of smoke and lifeless. I think if we don't spell it, how can we know whether what you said is true or not? Little Smelly took the weapon in his hand, and his face was gloomy and terrible. Finally out of the inn, check what is still missing, and fully equipped, the two continued to move towards the desolate continental margin. The more people walk to the edge, the more rare they are. Occasionally, one or two people come back from the edge of the mainland with a basket on their back. When they see Meng Bai, they are very strange. I say, you too. How can you go this way? Xiao Smelly and Meng Bai looked at each other. Meng Bai came forward and said, "We are going to the edge of the mainland. Is it true that brothers also come from there?" I saw the man's face changed, frowned, looked up and down for a while, and suddenly said, "Now there are still people who dare to go to that place. Don't you know that there is almost no return?" Meng Bai two people did not answer, continued to move forward without saying a word, until in the end, there was no shadow of the birds. The air around them was oppressive, the water vapor on the ground was steaming up, and the gray fog in the sky was pouring down. They walked between the heaven and the earth, and could not even hear their own echo. Gradually the grassland faded, ice and snow cover, gradually, into a white snow, cold, endless snow. Let two people shiver spit cold. Do you think we can really find that treasure? Little Smelly was worried, and suddenly began to hesitate. Meng Bai patted him on the shoulder with a smile, and said, "Just now you were still trying to persuade me to relax. Now it's your turn to worry." Looking up at the endless gray snow, he turned to the little Stink and said, "Anyway, we've all come here. Let's go on." Little Stinky sighed and held the weapon tightly in his hand. They pondered for a moment and marched to the depth of the snow. Meng Bai was a little dispirited. He found a place where there was no snow and sat on it. He sighed, "Where is the highest mountain? Do you think it's just an excuse for night to take away the clouds?" The more you listen, the worse you look. Gradually, the dark fog on the dark snow plains suddenly became thick, and the fog slowly pressed on their heads. Meng Bai feels that it is more and more difficult to breathe. He gasps and turns to look at the little Stink around him, but he sees that the little Stink's face is also very ugly. Is there really something around here? Xiaoxieka and Meng Bai look at each other. Two people continue to walk forward to the end. Everything in front of has been blurred. The last two people seem to be in the clouds. Meng Bai, you better follow me closely. I feel that we may lose our way next, or even can't see each other as soon as we separate a little bit. Little Stink said seriously. Meng Bai also felt it and nodded seriously. Suddenly, a strange shadow flashed in front of them, but in the thick fog, they couldn't see what it was, but there were few people here. At this time, a shadow suddenly appeared, which is not surprising. "Let's see who this man is," Meng Bai whispered, patting Xiao Stinky on the shoulder. Small Stink also and Meng Bai together, two people back to back, carefully forward. But all of a sudden, a shadow flashed in front of Xiao Cho, which made Xiao Cho feel tight and said in a low voice, "Meng Bai, I also see a shadow." This Meng Bai two people's hearts began to worry. In this place, either want to put people to death, or, I'm afraid, is not a person. Sure enough, after a while, two shadows flashed by. But these shadows were only in the thick fog, but they didn't mean to attack. They made them confused. They walked forward carefully and found that the more they went forward, the more shadows they had. Until in front of the fog, suddenly appeared a huge shadow. Suddenly let two people along there. The cold wind changed their faces, but they almost screamed out and ran over. In the cold wind, the tall peaks are covered with white snow, and you can't see the end at a glance. My God, it seems that we have found the right one. Small Stink suddenly laughed. A scream suddenly turned into a huge phoenix, turned to look at Meng Bai. Meng Bai also understand, jump on the body of Small Stink. Two people leap up. On the top of the highest mountain, the place was so narrow that it was only enough for two people to stay at night. At a glance, they saw that what they wanted was on the ground. Meng Bai was surprised and jumped down and rushed up. But unexpectedly, a shadow suddenly appeared in front of them and attacked them without saying a word. All of a sudden, two people on the top of the mountain, and they get together, two soul body, no consciousness, just out of instinct to protect the treasure. The two souls are very powerful. They fight with each other for a long time, but they don't retreat. This makes Meng Bai and Xiao Chou very anxious. Suddenly, in the wind and snow behind him, an old man came out. He just raised his hand and waved away the two soul bodies in front of him. Meng Bai was very happy. He rushed forward and said to the old man, "Thank you very much, great Xia." The old man didn't speak, but his eyes were clear. He looked them up and down, and suddenly said, "I'll give you this treasure." They were very surprised. No matter what the old man said was true or not, they quickly picked up the treasure and prepared to go back to Yunfu. But he was stopped by the old man and said, "I'm going to go with you too." Meng Bai thought for a long time, but they were all puzzled. But because the old man was kind to them, they agreed. So Xiao Chou turned into a phoenix, carrying them without stopping, and immediately flew to Yunfu. Just after arriving at the gate of Yunfu, Yunxi has already got the news. He specially guards at the gate. Seeing that they are back, he hastens to meet them. "General Yun, we've brought things back." Meng Bai comes forward, takes out the treasure, and hands it to Yunxi. Then he frowned and said to Yunxi, "This old man, even the one who gave us the treasure, will come back with us." Yunxi looks at the old man behind Meng Bai, only to find that he is also a soul. At that moment, Yunxi understood that this man was the same as the first two elders, so he immediately turned to the person behind him and said, "Come on, give this elder a room." Yes, the guard took the order and went to prepare immediately. Yunxi came up to the old man and said, "You are welcome. The day before yesterday, two masters have just arrived in the mansion. They may know each other." The old man nodded, said, "I know, out of such a thing, they cannot ignore, go, walk, and say." Yunxi nodded and immediately welcomed the old man in. "How do you address me?" Yunxi asks. With a smile, the old man said, "Our brothers are 4 people. As for their names and taboos, no one has called them for many years. In the past, it became known as the Old Man. Later, it was divided into 4 directions, southeast, northwest of the upper boundary. I was in the west on hearing this." Yunxi immediately understood what he meant and said, "Master Shi." The old man laughed and said, "I heard that something happened to your daughter. I'm afraid it's not a trivial matter. Maybe it has something to do with the purpose of our existence. So I've come here specially to have a look. Just feel free and don't be polite. In other words, we are still bothering." What does Yunxi dare to go on? But he also saw that the old man didn't like etiquette, so he quickly said, "It's better to do something. To be honest, the government has been trying to find it, but there's been no whereabouts. Now, when we meet the elders, we see a glimmer of hope in a word. There should be another elder on the way. I'll send someone to meet you later." "Ha ha ha," at last. "I'm afraid it's my 3rd brother. He has the most eccentric temperament. You should do well and don't annoy him." With that, the old man went to the depth of Yunfu with a smile. "Look at the direction he's going. It's the direction where the first 2 elders live." Yunxi was shocked. He didn't expect that they felt like they had a connection with each other. In order not to expose themselves, the 2 old men had converged their breath very well, but the Western old man found their direction easily. Surprised, Yunxi reminds herself to send someone to pick up the last old man later. Soon, without the guidance of Yunxi, the Western elder directly found the top 2 positions. The 2 men were sitting in the yard playing chess. When they saw the Western elder coming, they just said hello and went on. The Western elders were not worried. First they asked about their room, and then they asked Yunxi about these days. Seeing that the 2 elders didn't mean it was over, they shook their heads helplessly. "Take me around here. Maybe you can find something," said the old man. Just as Yunxi wanted to agree, the voice of the old man from the north came over. "There's no need to go. We don't know how many times we've looked around here. We haven't found anything. Except for the place where things happened at the door that day. There's still a little smell left. There's no smell at all. It's no use going there." The old man from the west picked his eyebrows and saw that the old man from the north was about to lose. He was worried and couldn't help laughing. He went to watch the game quietly. In Yunxi's heart, Is he leading the way or leaving quietly? Are you just watching? Now the Cloud family is in charge of the overall situation. If he is here all the time, he doesn't know what happened outside. But if he is not here, it will inevitably neglect these distinguished guests. Finally, the old man turned his head and asked, "Who is your grandson-in-law?" Yin Qi is stunned. What son-in-law? Isn't that dragon's evil? Just as he was about to speak, the Western elder said again, "I'm not asking about his identity, but about his strength, moves, and fighting spirit besides his superficial identity. Do you know?" As soon as the words came out, Yin Qi frowned. Strange to say, if he asked about the identity of the dragon, he would be able to answer a question or two, and he probably knew his strength, but he didn't understand the moves and the fighting spirit he used. Moreover, if you remember correctly, the power of the dragon seems to be different from others, and it's black, but how can anyone's fighting spirit be black? Yunchi thought for a long time and didn't know how to answer, but if he didn't even know his grandson-in-law, it would be a shame. It seems that the old man in the west saw his tangle and silently asked the evil dragon in his heart. Then he said, "It's okay, you just need to say what you see on the surface, and we will infer the rest by ourselves. You don't have to worry. I just want to speculate about who will take him away. Maybe you can find those who will take her. It's not impossible to follow suit at that time." Yun Shi nodded, thinking that it was no secret about the dragon's betrayal of evil, and said it to the old Westerner. With his words, the old Westerner's brows slowly wrinkled when Lan Yu, Hong Ling, and Bai Shuer had just stepped out of the teleportation array. The soldiers of the Cloud family, who had been waiting for the teleportation array for a long time, immediately welcomed them. "Three, you are back at last." The soldier said that when he saw the three people appear, he even looked behind them as if they were looking at someone. Hong Ling couldn't bear it for a long time. She stepped forward and held the soldier's shoulder and asked, "I ask you, is the rumor true?" The soldier's shoulder was pinched, but when he heard Hong Ling's question, his eyes flashed a touch of indignation. "It's true, miss. She's really gone. Blue you three people almost stand not steady. From the beginning they follow Cloud Dance side. Until now, never like now so flustered. In the past, no matter what happened to Yunwu, even if it was seriously injured, at least they could feel it. As long as they could feel it, they would not feel flustered. They might die together, or they could know what happened to Yunwu's body. But now, starting from the coma of Yunwu, they lost contact with Yunwu. They could not even feel that their master was pregnant with a little master in his body. They could not return to their own space. They had to stay outside. Day by day, it was clear that Yunwu was extremely dangerous, but they didn't feel anything. Three people over and over again to see if their contract is still. The answer is yes, but why on earth? How can there be no contact? Did the host go to a place they had never heard of? 3. Are you the only one back? The soldiers of the Cloud family army stretched out their heads and looked behind them for a long time, but they didn't see anything, so they couldn't help asking. The three looked at each other, and Lan Yu asked, "What do you mean? Are you?" The soldier then replied, "When the previous generals came back, they all brought a soul body back. It is said that there were 4 of them, and the last one should have followed 3 of them. That's why they let me guard here, but I didn't see it." Voice just fell. An old but full of rebellious voice came out. "Well, those 3 old guys came here with such enthusiasm this time." With this voice, a soul body does not know where to come from. It is a white-haired old man again. As soon as the soldier's eyes brightened, he immediately said respectfully, "I think this is the old man from the south. The master and the other 3 old men have been waiting in the Cloud family for a long time and ordered me to come specially to meet them." As soon as these words came out, the 3 of them understood. It seems that the 4 things they took separately had their own guardians, and they were not guardians at all. It's just that I didn't expect that these guardians knew each other, and their strength was unexpectedly high. It's just that they don't understand why they know that. What's more, he just wanted to take Yunwu away. But if it's just to take away Yunwu, why should it take so much trouble? The more they think about it, the more they don't understand. At this moment, how they hope Yunwu can answer these questions for them, but it's obviously impossible. Well, Those three old guys still remember some friendship. The old man in the south snorted and said, "In that case, why don't you lead the way soon? Hurry up. Lousy's time is precious." Yes. Have the officers and men of Yun family army ever been instructed by outsiders? But before he came, Gao Yu directly ordered him not to neglect any of the four elders. That's why he was so willing to be obedient. A group of 5 people rushed to the Cloud's home quickly. The old man in the south thought that their speed was too slow, so he simply moved his own moves and took 4 people on the road quickly. It's such a long way. It's only half a fragrant time to get to the gate of the Cloud family. Lan Yu 3 people have long been surprised, but the soldiers of the Cloud family army have long been stunned. Has he ever seen such ability? Originally thought that the strength of Cloud Dance is already very high. At least few people have been able to beat her before, but now in front of the old man found that the strength of the old man is more unfathomable. Such a long distance can be reached in an instant. What kind of strength should it be? Only Lan Yu carefully observed that the old man actually used something mysterious similar to magic weapon. Even the familiar Hong Ling and Bai Shuer didn't find it. As soon as I got to the door of Yun's house, I saw that when I left, the door was still heavily guarded. There were clear teams on both sides of the door, standing neatly with weapons. As soon as the figure of the 5 appeared, the soldiers first made a well-trained defensive posture, and then when they saw the comer clearly, someone immediately went in to report, and the others quietly restored their previous standing posture. Yes, I know how to respect my elders. The old man touched his beard and said with a smile. All the way, they all know that the old people in the South are informal, careless, and arrogant. Sometimes they like to be respected, but they hate flattery. Soon, a neat sound of footsteps rang out in the depth of Yun's home. It was Yun Qi who came out with a group of generals. It's lucky that the old people from the South have come all the way. Please don't give up and come in quickly. As he said this, Yun Qi immediately led the man in. The old people in the South hate empty ceremony the most. At this time, they ran straight inside for fear that Yun Qi would talk a lot of nonsense, but they didn't say a word. Behind him, the Blue Youth 3 quickly follow. What about the 3 old men? Why don't you come out to meet me? Anyway, I'm an old friend. How can I be so impolite? The old man in the South blew his beard and glared. He looked like an old urchin. There was a cold sweat on Yun Qi's forehead. The characters of the 4 old men are very strange, but now they seem to be the only one who can find Yunwu. The hope of the Cloud family is in their heart, so no one dares to neglect them. What are you talking about? And speak ill of us behind our backs. Don't you? It's an old voice again. It's full of Zhongqi. Looking at the source of the sound, they saw 3 souls sitting in the pavilion, looking at this side in their spare time. You always speak ill of us behind our backs, and you want us to go out to meet you? No way, the Oriental old man said with a smile. What's more, this is the Cloud family, not our territory. We're all guests like you. How can we let the guests meet the guests? The 3 old people, you say a word, I say a word, look between each other and years of old friends in general. Excuse. The old man in the South snorted, walked over, and sat down in an empty seat. Then he waved his hand behind him and said, Okay, what should you do? I want to talk to my brothers now. No one is allowed to disturb me. As soon as the words came out, although people were very curious about what they wanted to say, they were still forced by their identity and did not ask. Naturally, Yun Qi is also very curious. Although he is old, he is still the owner of the Yun family. These 3 people have been dead for a long time, leaving only 1 soul body. If you really want to count up, no matter what age these 4 soul bodies are, they are enough to be his ancestors. Therefore, Yun Qi can only be regarded as a junior in front of them. Now that the 4 of them have already spoken, Yun Qi and his family can't wait here any longer, so they directly demobilize all the people around them and leave this place to the 4 of them together. As soon as they left, the 4 immediately let go. The old man in the South said in a hurry, How many days have you been here? What have you found? The other 3 people's faces immediately sank down and said, Originally, we were thinking about making a fuss. There was no trace of the smell of the demons in the Cloud family, but I felt a little different in the place where they said it happened. It's a pity that it's been too long, and I can't feel it clearly. Maybe I made a mistake. Wrong. The old man in the south was stunned, and then he looked serious. Boss, you have to be sure this kind of thing is not careless. The oriental old man said with a bitter smile. Of course, I know it's very careless, but it's been more than half a year, and it's just a little time. What do you want me to do? The old man in the south snorted and said, Come on, I see. It's you who have been guarding the baby for a long time, and you haven't fought for such a long time, so your strength has declined, right? Don't you believe it? Let's have a fight. The old man glanced at him and said, Do you want to fight? If you want to find someone, don't push me. With that, he stopped talking to him. The old men in the West are very angry. They used to like to fight with each other when they were alive. Now we haven't seen each other for a long time. As a militant, apart from caring about the demons, it's natural to fight. Well, third, stop it. The old man in the north looked very kind. He seemed to be the most reliable one among the four races. As soon as he opened his mouth, the old man immediately shut up. Well, I didn't expect that after so many years, they were still allowed to come out. The old man sighed and said, I just don't know if there will be anyone in the three realms who can hold them in such a war. As soon as the words came out, the four fell into silence one after another. They were the few people who survived the battle. In fact, they only survived a soul. After the war, they were divided into four directions, southeast, northwest of the upper border, guarding their own things and preventing them from repeating mistakes at any time. Over the years, there has been no major event, no matter in the human world or in the upper world. Even if something like the Beast Gate happened, they did not intervene. But now they have to do it. I already know all about the Cloud family. If it's not unexpected, it's those forces that Miss Yun met that day to take her husband away, but I can't figure out why they would suddenly attack a human who hasn't moved for many days, said the old man of the north. The oriental old man said, I have a look. The young lady of the Cloud family is not an ordinary person. Her destined lover is Nanganji of the Nangong family. So although I haven't met her, I have met Nanganji. After all, the girl of the Cloud family is not immortal. Now, she has been taken away. I'm afraid that the one who took him away is our target. No way. The Western elder retorted immediately. Haven't you heard of it? The way given to them by the man who took him away is to let these people look for treasure. If he is really one of those people, and it's too late to avoid us, how can he bump into us directly? What the Western elders said is very reasonable. For a moment, others are not sure. It doesn't make sense. Since he knows the existence of these four treasures, he must also know our existence. It must be a demon. But if he is really a demon, why should he disturb us? The four looked at each other, and no one could tell why. The most urgent thing is to find Miss Yin. As long as you find her, you will know everything. The Southern elder said seriously. Besides, she still has children in her stomach. Although they didn't say it, I suspect that the girl's coma may have something to do with her child. Otherwise, she shouldn't have been in a coma for so long due to multiple injuries. I'm afraid that child. The old Westerner didn't go on talking about the following words, but all the people on the scene understood it, and all of them were shocked and nodded seriously. Let's go and tell the people of the Cloud family now that we want to help them find the girl. Then the old man stood up. Several people looked at each other and followed each other. Outside, although Yunchi has been dealing with the affairs of the Cloud family, her mind is always on the four old people. The four old people have extraordinary skills. Yunchi is afraid that they won't want to, and then she will become confused again. Upset, in the face of a table to deal with things, Yunchi stands up and paces back and forth in the room. Master, the four old men asked to see you outside the door. A sound of announcement came, which sounded like the sound of nature to Yunchi. See you? Are you confused? Why don't you invite people in as soon as possible? Yunchi said anxiously, for fear of neglecting the four elders. Before finishing a word, the whole person went directly to the door. At the door, four old people are standing at the door, smiling and waiting for him. Surprised, Yunchi quickly welcomes the man in. Don't be so formal. The old man in the west said with a smile. Let's all go down first. There are some things we want to talk about with you alone. Yunqi nodded, and then immediately let all the people around him retreat, and the study was quiet. In the face of these four strong men, Yunqi doesn't feel any pressure. What do you want from the four elders? The four elders looked at each other, but the southern elders were the most impatient. They said, "Listen, old man, we're going to help you." As soon as the words came out, Yunqi was stunned. It took a long time for him to understand what he meant by being willing to help him. Then he was surprised. He was even called old man without any dissatisfaction. "Would you like to help me find my granddaughter?" The western elder raised his hand, stopped the southern elder who still wanted to speak, and said with a smile, "My third brother is a bit reckless. Please don't blame him." "That's right. For some reasons, it's not easy. It's just that we can't let you know now. After discussion, we decided to help, but we need a few more things." The surprised Yunqi just had calmed down. The night before, he suddenly appeared to help them, but he took Yunwu away. These old people also suddenly appeared, saying that they wanted to help them, but they were not willing to say their purpose. For a moment, Yunqi is a little uncertain. He just falls for it once. If he falls for it again, he doesn't know what will happen. It seems that the old man in the west saw Yunqi's mind, so he said, "You don't have to worry too much. What I need is just to find what people need. It's not rare, and it won't take away the experts here. And the reason we are willing to help is not for you, just to explore some potential dangers. We can guarantee that we can bring your granddaughter back safely. Okay?" After hearing this, Yunqi finally nodded and said, "Okay, what do you need? As long as I can find it, I will try my best to find it." "Ha ha," the old man in the west laughed. "Don't be so troublesome. It's just some small things. I need 4 things. The first one is the personal goods of the girl of the Cloud family." "Isn't that hard?" Yunqi was stunned. He didn't expect it to be so simple. The Cloud family is also the home of Cloud Dance. It's very convenient to find some personal things. This is very simple. What about the other 3? "The second is a drop of blood from the relatives of your Cloud family and that girl who have direct blood relationship. This is not difficult, let alone a drop of blood. Even if it takes my life, I have no objection." Yunqi said seriously. "No, the blood I want is directly related to that girl, such as her mother." The Western old man said, "We need to do something to find her. Naturally, the closer these things are, the greater the hope will be. There is a generation between you and her, so the effect will have an impact." This, Yunqi frowned and said, "To be honest, Xiao Wu's mother disappeared after she was born. I really can't get her blood." The 4 elders didn't expect that there was such a thing. They all doubted the identity of Lianyun Dance. Their eyes crossed each other, and they all saw a guess in each other's eyes. Is it hard to be even this girl's identity? "Well, without her mother's blood, so can her father's," said the old man. Yunqi nodded and said, "Her father's out looking for her whereabouts, and there is no result until now. I'll send someone to tell him and let him come back as soon as possible. The third thing, we need the blood of her 3 contract animals. Each contract animal only needs to give a drop of blood." After thinking about it, Yunqi felt that there was no problem. The Western elder continued to talk about it. The fourth thing is for me." The Southern elder stood up directly. "I want a personal thing for her husband." "The dragon is evil," Yunqi said in surprise. The old man frowned. "Why do you want him?" The old man in the south naturally said, "It's enough for you 3 to look for that girl. I'm very interested in her husband. What kind of person can be taken away directly, just like disappearing in the world? I want something close to him. Maybe I can bring him back with me." The other elders shook their heads helplessly. The 4 of them had their own abilities and ways to find people, so they needed 4 things closest to each other. However, they didn't expect that the Southern elder wanted to find the dragon. But if you think about it, it's possible. Master this. Cloud Chief frowned and said, "Just listen to him." The 4th thing is her husband's personal belongings. The old man said, "Maybe you can find your grandson-in-law together." As soon as Yunqi's eyes brightened, he quickly said, "If that's true, I'll write more about my predecessors." "Ha ha." The old man touched his beard and said, go down and make arrangements. We will send those things to us as soon as possible in the next 2 days. We will start as soon as possible. Good. Cloud Chi says excited go down to issue in order to go. Yin Chi's speed is very fast. That afternoon, he collected 3 kinds of things. The next day, when he received the news, Yin Lingyi came back immediately. Originally in the human world, he naturally came back soon. As soon as he came back, he was pulled by Yunqi to bleed. After collecting the 4 things, Yunqi directly sent them to the 4 elders. For old people took 1. I didn't expect the speed to be so fast. In that case, we will start immediately today. The old man in the south said with the dragons, evil things. How many of you are going to leave? Cloud Cold, Elung once said. Originally, I thought that they would find their whereabouts in the same way as Nangong family. But now it seems that they're going to leave with something. What if I don't come back? Yes. The old man in the west said with a smile. I'm going too. Small Stink said. I also want to find them. You just left. Do you want us to do nothing here? Nangong, E, and others around didn't speak, but looking at their eyes, they felt that they also thought so, and they couldn't just wait to die. Don't worry. We have our own way to look for them, and I guess the place they stay is not suitable for you. After all strength, and only the 4 of us can find them as quickly as possible, said the old man. With these words, everyone finally said nothing more. Everyone knew their own strength. If they went together, it would certainly have an impact. You don't have to. I'll wait and say goodbye. When the Western elder saw that they were all pacified, he left a sentence like this, and then the figure of the 4 disappeared directly in front of the crowd. In fact, what they didn't say is that they not only need to find Yunwu to bring her back, but also need to find the whereabouts of Longqingxi. If things are really the same as what they expected, if they don't do it, the consequences will be unimaginable at the entrance of the dark place. Yunwu stood at the door with a huge stomach and a big knife. She looked at the knight in front of her, cold as ice. Cloud Dance frowns. Gu Wu's sword is in his hand, and he stares at the knight in front of him warily. The dark smell of the knight in front of him is stronger than ever. When he stands in front of Cloud Dance and looks at Cloud Dance, he smiles with evil spirits. See, the knight is not moved at all. Cloud Dance frowns. Knight, you say a condition. How can let me go? However, in front of the knight is a light look, looking at the Cloud Dance alert look, a smile helpless. Cloud Dance clearly is a good friend. Why do so stiff? Good friend. Yunwu sneered. She held the sword tightly in her hand, and the purple fighting spirit immediately enveloped her whole body. She sent out a strong, murderous atmosphere, and her whole body was on high alert. I don't have a good friend like you. Hearing this, she couldn't help laughing and said, Yunwu, there's still a little time for the baby to be born. If you don't listen now, you will be out in the future. If you have any problems, don't blame me again. Of course not. If something goes wrong with my child, I'll be responsible for it myself. Cloud Dance sneers. So, are you willing to let me go now? Gently shook his head, the knight sighed. Yunwu, you know I will not let you go today, so you'd better give up the idea of leaving. Cloud Dance, eyebrows a cold. Suddenly will Gu Wu big knife clench, tightly pursed lips, rush to the knight in front of. Because of giving birth to a child, her physical strength is obviously not as good as before, and her heavy stomach hinders her action, but her speed of wielding a knife is not slow at all. The big knife is wrapped with fighting spirit and cuts towards the knight's head at a high speed. But the knight just stood there, helpless smile, like a joke on a disobedient child. Suddenly, his figure disappeared in front of Yunwu. Before Yunwu could react, the voice of the knight suddenly appeared behind Yunwu. Yunwu, I have said, don't use force, don't be angry, it's not good for the child. Cloud Dance heart. You deceived me for so long. How can you deceive me again? But before she left here, it is impossible to say so because Cloud Dance don't know if knight after understanding how to her. He quickly dodged, and then a strong wind flew from Yunwu's cheek. Then Yunwu's heart tightened, and his cheek hair had been cut off too. Suddenly, a bloodstain appeared on Yunwu's cheek. How fast? Yunwu narrowed his eyes and looked at the black-robed man standing in front of him. He saw that his dark breath was more and more strong. Now the dark breath disgusted Yunwu, and he couldn't help waving his knife. Knight also narrowed his eyes, but the corner of his mouth is a touch of light smile, flash back, just to avoid the cloud of the knife. Cloud Dance does not yield, continue to wave a knife, but the knight continues to avoid. The body is not as good as before, just waving two knives. Yunwu is already out of breath. Looking up at the knight in front of him, Yunwu frowned and said, "If you don't let her go today, you will fight with him to death. Have you had enough of Cloud Dance?" Knight suddenly joked, and then, before Yunwu could react, Knight had already come to Yunwu, reached for Yunwu's hand, and threw her knife to the ground. Yunwu was defeated at all, and was subdued easily by the knight. He pushed Sang Sang all the way from the entrance of the cave to bring Yunwu back to the dark place. Next to the boulder, it was a very cold and dark place, which made Yunwu a little desperate. Looking at the knight in front of him, he didn't say a word, but his whole body was cold and murderous. "Yunwu, okay, don't continue to monkey around. You need to know that this child is the child of you and the dragon. Are you willing to kill your child?" Cloud Dance, heart bitter, looking down at his stomach, but now the stomach of another child, how to do? Is it true to let the children of dark constitution be born and the children of bright constitution die? Of course not. But if I don't leave here again, I'm afraid my baby will be born and there will be no mother. Yunwu said coldly. The energy of the dark place made Yunwu very uncomfortable, but she was silent. "So, the baby will be born soon. You better stick to it. I don't think you can die." Knight haha laughs, patted lightly Cloud Dance's shoulder. "Well, you go. I'll be by myself." Cloud Dance, tired, close eyes. Not only body tired, heart more tired. Knight see Cloud Dance seems really no longer struggling, silent for a while, turn away. In the dark, there's another Cloud Dancing person left. In the dark, her breathing is echoing, cold and piercing, penetrating her heart. It's ridiculous. The reason for the night is too high-sounding. Yunwu sits under the stone and covers her stomach. Bursts of cold and fatigue rush to her whole body, which makes her even lazy to move. Close your eyes, and Night, fighting tired, let her finally can't hold, gradually sleep in the past. When she woke up again, the first thing she saw was a face of Night in the dark. Night sitting next to Yunwu, looking at Yunwu with a smile. "Are you awake? Come and eat." Yunwu's heart sank. Today's maid did not come. This person actually sat beside Yunwu, waiting for her to wake up, and the meal was also brought by him and put in front of Yunwu. Cloud Dance, brow tight, wrinkly, indifference way. "How this time change pattern?" "You misunderstood, Yunwu. I'm just worried that my maid can't take care of you, so I'll take care of you myself," she said with a smile. Cloud Dance snorts coldly in her heart. "You come to take care of me yourself. I'm afraid you'll watch me yourself. You're afraid that your maid won't be able to fight me. That's why you're taking the place of your maid now. And the baby will be born soon. I'm afraid you're going to start first." However, Yunwu didn't say anything because the current situation is very bad for her. The knight unfolds the food box in front of Yunwu and puts all the food in it in front of Yunwu. Yunwu rejects the food from the knight, but now for self-protection. But with a sigh, Yunwu picked up chopsticks and ate the food in front of him. However, although there's a lot of food, Yunwu doesn't know what to eat, but he is worried about what to do if the child is born. He slowly ate the food in front of him. Yunwu's stomach was not so uncomfortable. He put down his chopsticks and looked up at the knight and said, "I think you can go. Next time, you don't have to trouble the night master. Just ask your servants to give me something." Knight chuckles twice, seems to be very happy, did not continue to speak, just packed the box, turned and left. For some reason, Cloud Dance has an ominous feeling. Because the stone is too cold and the dark energy is too thick, Yunwu can only sit under the stone, slightly reduce the dark energy intake, close his eyes, look at the dying baby in his stomach, and divide the source of life to him. This time, the little guy didn't absorb it quickly as usual, but slowly, as if his breath was also weak. Sure enough, the child was very weak if you don't enter the environment of Tao light energy, you may die. Heart is very tangled. Patiently will be the source of life to the baby to support his life, but heard of footsteps. Yunwoo opened his eyes and looked up. The night came in again. Yunwoo, in order to take care of you better, I decided to live here with you in the last few days. In this way, it will be more conducive for me to observe your situation. If anything happens, I'll make preparations in advance. Night said, particularly sincere, but Yunwoo did not pay any attention, who do not know what your heart, under the banner of care, is actually to monitor their own. Whatever you want. Yunwoo was a little discouraged. He just sat there and didn't say a word. The night laughs and sits beside Yunwoo. The dark atmosphere makes Yunwoo feel very uncomfortable. She has to frown, close her eyes, and say nothing. Night really stayed. Next to Yunwoo, he was still wearing a black robe, but he was more indifferent than Yunwoo. He didn't seem to feel the cold and depression here. In the whole dark place, Yunwoo was the only one, but the night suddenly appeared. Instead of feeling comfortable, Yunwoo felt miserable and was always on guard for fear that the night would do something to him. But the night didn't care at all. He sat down beside the boulder leisurely and then got up to walk around. It was obvious that Yunwoo was about to give birth. He didn't intend to be monitored by others, but came to the scene himself. In this way, it would reduce the possibility of all bad things and prevent Yunwoo from escaping. Yunwoo didn't expect that Night should attach so much importance to the child. Sitting on the edge of the boulder, Yunwoo sits cross-legged and closes her eyes tightly. Yunwoo wants to seize all the time to improve herself and keep herself in the best condition. However, there's one thing that makes Yunwoo very confused. She doesn't understand the value of the child for the Night. Night tried every means to get the child, even at the expense of cheating and forcible kidnapping, even regardless of the death of another child, forced Yunwoo to give birth to the child, so the child with dark constitution must be very important to Night. Always feel that the Night is planning something unknown, and now Night, so try to imprison himself here, must have been planning for a long time. When she thought about this, Yunwoo suddenly felt a thump in her heart, because she suddenly thought that when she was on the top of the desert, she gave Yunwoo the key of earth power for no reason. At that time, she thought that this person might also hate the Beast Gate and express support for what she had done, which was also a contribution to her plan. However, when I think about it now, Yunwoo can't help but frown and look gloomy. Maybe at that time, Yi had expected everything in the future, including that she would kill Shangwen's Hong, destroy the Beast Gate, and then cultivate the right fruit with the dragon to give birth to the child. And he is also very willing to see this result, because this child is his purpose as a kind-hearted person for a long time. With this in mind, Yunwoo suddenly feels that the temperature around her has dropped suddenly, and she has goosebumps. The man around her is too deep. Thinking of the current situation and the attitude of the night before, Yunwoo suddenly feels ominous. She can't help but turn her head and look at the handsome man with closed eyes, the man sitting on the edge of the stone, who doesn't move. When Yunwoo's eyes touch him, she seems to feel Yunwoo looking at him. She suddenly opens her eyes, turns to Yunwoo, and then smiles. Cloud Dance can't help but frown, quickly turn his head, and close his eyes. In my heart, I can't help but wonder if he can really predict so many things. What kind of existence is this person? So far, Yunwoo's understanding of night is limited to some things on the top of the desert. Although he was confused in his heart, on the surface, Yunwoo still sat there quietly and practiced meticulously, passing his life source to the baby for him to live, and then continued to increase his cultivation. But Yunwoo didn't dare to sleep, because Yunwoo was afraid of what he would do to himself after he fell asleep, so he stayed up all night. When Yunwoo opens her eyes again and turns her head, she sees the Night sitting by her side and looking at Yunwoo with her eyes open. This makes Yunwoo feel cold and sweaty. This person seems to have been sleeping and monitoring himself all the time. Yunwoo took a deep breath and closed her eyes, but she felt uncomfortable because she always felt that there was a pair of eyes around her, looking at her without blinking. In this way, the long time of Cloud Dance is spent in a daze. When you open your eyes again, the whole dark place is full of black energy. Cloud Dance can already distinguish it. Now is the night when the dark energy is the strongest and the giant baby in Cloud Dance's belly is the most active. She lowers her head to touch her stomach. How the child moves in her stomach can be clearly detected by Yunwoo. When she opens her eyes, she still looks at herself with a smile on her face. Yunwoo feels chilly. She frowns and breathes. She's going to continue to practice with her eyes closed. Yunwoo, did you sleep well? How are you feeling now? Night came forward and looked at Yunwoo carefully. It felt like a husband was looking at his wife who was pregnant in October. But Yunwoo frowned and turned to avoid. You stay away from me. Night haha smile, stand up, carrying both hands, standing beside the boulder. Lord Night, I'm here to deliver the meal. At the entrance, a woman's figure came down from above. It was dark. She moved slowly, as if afraid of falling down. Yunwoo opened her eyes and saw that a strange face slowly came to them by the yellow candle. Lord Night, I'm here. Please have dinner. Put the things in your food box on the ground a little bit and look around. It's obvious that it's a novelty to be here for the first time. Yunwoo also opened his eyes, looked at the things on the ground, pursed his mouth and frowned. After thinking for a while, he went to sit down, picked up chopsticks and ate. Surprised, he turned around and said with a smile, Yunwoo, why are you so obedient today? Yunwoo frowned tightly, and there was no extra expression fluctuation on his cold face, so he continued to eat vegetables. Why are you obedient? Just need to save physical strength, Cloud Dance just won't be silly enough to be angry to starve herself. She is ready to leave everything. Night see Cloud Dance ignore him, also not angry, just laughing eat. Yunwoo looks at the maid in front of her. She's a new face. I'm afraid that maid has been killed by Night's people. Lower your head and take a small bite of the food into your mouth. After dinner, the Knight let the maid pack things back, and he continued to stay in Yunwoo's side. Because she can barely eat, Yunwoo maintains the most basic physical strength. She still does not give up. She is still looking for an opportunity to leave here. Continue to close your eyes and practice. The baby with bright constitution in his belly is not optimistic. He feels that his breath is weak. He hastens to get the source of his life. Yunwoo feels dizzy in his head. If he goes on like this, his source of life will be exhausted, and I'm afraid his oil lamp will be exhausted. But from that day on, the night of Cloud Dancing is not so good. When she goes to bed at night, the dark energy of the whole dark place is the most abundant. The cold black fog is full of all around, which makes Yunwoo feel depressed and cold. Yunwoo is very uncomfortable. She feels something pressing on her heart, which makes her depressed and breathless. She continued to sit on the boulder, absorbing the dark energy to supply the giant baby, and continued to separate the source of life to the baby. But unexpectedly, the two children, as if they were suddenly hurt by something, kept making noise in her stomach. Stomach suddenly a burst of colic. Let Cloud Dance can't help but cry out, involuntarily curled up together. Is it going to have a baby? Yunwoo frowned painfully, and her stomach activity was very obvious. Yunwoo glanced at her stomach with Yuguang and could see her stomach moving. She was tired and lying on the boulder, breathing deeply to calm herself down. But there is no way the belly of the child is more active, wave after wave of pain and suffocation swept. Let Cloud Dance tired, sweating, but can't sleep. Plus Cloud Dance will be every day to the baby's source of life. So now the body loss is very big. At this time, it is close to collapse. Tired to open his eyes, looking at his stomach, vomit, how just solve the problem, followed by the emergence of this kind of problem, really make the head big. There was no sleep all night, until the strong, dark atmosphere turned to light. Yunwoo finally came out from the pain, suddenly relieved, drowsy, and then fell asleep. The next day, however, night arrived as scheduled. Yunwoo's stomach began to stir up again. The day yesterday was even more intense. She was exhausted. With her eyes closed, her forehead was full of sweat, and her whole body was soaked with sweat. Yunwoo didn't know how to deal with it, so she had to let the children in her stomach continue to stir up and then get through the hard night. This night, is more painful than every day before. Just thinking about this, Yunwoo suddenly felt that a pair of warm palms were slowly attached to Yunwoo's stomach, and then a stream of energy poured in from these hands. When Yunwoo opened her eyes, she saw that Knight's hands were pressing on her belly, and a dark force slowly entered Yunwoo's belly with the transpiration of black, which was a little depressing and terrible. But the baby in her stomach suddenly calms down. This feeling makes Yunwoo feel relaxed. She's a little sleepy. Just when her eyes open and close, she can't think, but her heart suddenly sinks. This man will never be so kind to relieve his pain. What does he want to do? Looking up at the Knight in front of him angrily, I saw that Knight was obsessed with looking at his stomach. There was always a kind of love in his eyes, which was about to be a father. He was smiling, and his eyes were full of infatuation. However, this child was not his at all. Yunwoo gnashes her teeth and glares, but she still transmits energy to her stomach. Yunwoo's heart is not good. He believes that since the Knight chooses to stay in the dark, it will not leave a bright baby. So he looks inside his body, but found that the power of the Knight into the body, although it can really make the dark constitution of the baby quiet down, but another child seems to be hurt, suddenly fierce struggle. The child struggled very hard, but because he was too thin and small, he didn't feel much in his stomach. He rolled left and right, and his belly involved in Yunwoo also hurt slightly. But this situation let Cloud Dance understand this person now is to kill another child in disguise. No, how can I see my child killed in my stomach? Yunwoo almost choked with anger. She opened her eyes and glared at the Knight, but the Knight didn't seem to feel it. Suddenly, in the heart of a rage and murderous straight to the top of the head, Yunwoo's hand in his side to touch finally touched a sharp stone. Without saying a word, mercilessly to his stomach that hand. Resentment in her heart. If she can do it now, she will take out Gu Wu's sword and solve the Knight with one knife. But now, it is obviously not very realistic. The Knight was immersed in love, but suddenly felt something coming. Almost out of instinct, she raised her hand and grabbed the stone that was rowing to her hand. She turned her head and looked at Yunwoo and asked, "Yunwoo, why are you suffering?" Yunwoo didn't speak, but his hand was caught by the Knight, but he couldn't get away from it. In his heart, he was angry and suddenly burst out a fight to attack the Knight's hand. But unexpectedly, the Knight also returned to strength. As soon as they collided with each other, Yunwoo was defeated immediately, and his spirit was also dispirited. "Don't struggle." Knight hooked mouth a smile. Cloud Dance disappointed closed his eyes. Late at night, the surrounding dark elements become very rich again. Cloud Dance and the Knight's eyes quietly go to their own position to lie down, turn over to pretend to sleep. After a long time, I heard the footsteps of the Knight gradually moving away, followed by the voice of knowing the rate. I remembered that Yunwoo felt that the Knight was lying down, and then I quietly breathed a sigh of relief. In the dark environment, Yunwoo only feels that his future is dark and secretly passes some of the source of life to another child in his stomach. Yunwoo's mouth shows a wry smile. "This may be the last time I give you the source of my life." Cloud Dance sad thought, clearly feel that the child in a few days ago seems to be a little weaker. There are about 2 days to give birth. If you can't think of a way, then the belly of another child can only die. Yunwoo gave a bitter smile in his heart. But at this time, he suddenly got up in the night when he just lay down, and his clear, cold drink came from the dark room. "Who?" Yunwoo's heart trembled, and then he sat up, looking at the Knight with a defensive face, for fear that he would do something, but the Knight's attention was not on her at all. The whole person stood up vigilantly, looking around with a defensive face, as if someone had appeared. "Now that you have come, why hide? Don't show up." Yunwoo looks at the Knight inexplicably. She feels it carefully, but she doesn't feel any other breath except for the endless power of darkness. However, it doesn't look like pretending to look at the Knight. "What do you mean?" Cloud Dance finally began to ask. Who knows this Knight is not in the whole other pattern? Knight looked at her, eyes some complex, moved his lips, but did not explain anything to her, but said, "Be careful. Someone broke in. It may be for you." For me, Cloud Dance was surprised. "Isn't this your world? How can anyone break in?" After living here for so many days, Yunwoo has long known clearly that it is difficult for such a strong element of dark power to be naturally generated, so it is most likely that the man-made boundary, and that's what Night says. These days, I feel that the strength of Night is not what I used to think. On the contrary, it is very powerful. Yunwoo knows in her heart that even in her heyday, she may not be able to fight. But now the border he set has been broken in silently. Yunwoo even doubts whether it's the Night that is a bit nervous, so it's an illusion, but it doesn't look like it's wrong to look at the Night. But then an old voice appeared. "I didn't expect you to be a deserter. You escaped at the beginning, but now you come out to make trouble, right?" Cloud Dance tightened eyebrows. Don't understand what this sentence means. And then look at the Night. See his face indifferent, seems to have no response to the old voice. "I didn't expect you to come so fast." The sound of the Night is faint. According to his plan, he let the experts of Cloud family go to find things, which will naturally wake up some people. But what he didn't expect is that these people came so fast, and they found the place of Cloud Dance in a short time. According to his original plan, it will take at least 3 or 4 days. At that time, when the child of Cloud Dance was born, his plan will be completed. Even if it's normal, it doesn't help to find these people. And I can use them to accomplish some things that I should have done, but now. Yunwoo hasn't given birth yet, so they find here, and all their plans are disrupted. Taking a deep breath at Night, he turned his head and looked at Yunwoo with complicated eyes. He said, "Protect the child in your stomach. Be careful of people." Cloud Dance heart clatter. Although don't understand why he said so, but Cloud Dance intuition Night, this reminder is true, also serious. Now, carefully protect his stomach. Then, after the end of the night, a figure appeared in front of the two. This person is the Western old man. Soul body? Yunwoo was surprised to be born, and his mental conditioned reflex was detected. But before he came into contact with the old man, he felt a strong pressure on himself. Yunwoo snorted. She almost fainted because of a severe headache. But after shaking for a while, she stabilized herself. If she fainted here now, I don't know what would happen. If I could seize the chance, maybe I could find a chance to leave today. At the thought of this, Yunwoo forced herself to cheer up. "It looks like you knew we were coming." The Western old man glanced at Yunwoo, said faintly to the Night, and then looked at Yunwoo's stomach. Night's eyes are still light, said, "I just did not expect you will find here so soon." After a pause, the Knight's body tilted slightly, blocking the Western old man's view of Yunwoo, and then said, "But it's okay. Even if you find here ahead of time, it doesn't make any difference to me. What's more, it's useless if you come alone." "Is it?" The old man in the West laughed and said, "It's nothing to talk about. Just have a fight." Having said that, the old man's palm gently raised. A deep blue fighting character appeared in his palm. The fighting color blue-purple, almost no difference with purple. If it is not because at night all the lights are more obvious, otherwise it is really not clear whether it is blue or purple. I can't imagine that the old man's fighting spirit has reached such a level. Cloud Dance, some surprise, say. For such a long time, she has rarely seen the same purple fighting spirit as herself. The fighting spirit of the old man is very good. Even the officials can't match her. If she is in the human world, just with this fighting spirit, the old man will become the object of competition by various countries. Not to mention his strength is so unpredictable. With the old man's hands, Knight's eyes narrowed, showing a sense of preparedness. The body moved again, the whole person in front of the Cloud Dance. His strength is not weak. Be careful yourself. I may not be able to protect you. The Knight didn't turn its head, but the voice came. The cold voice said provocative words. If someone else changed, he might be moved by the Knight, but Yunwoo still clearly remembered that the purpose of his doing this was for his own children. He trapped himself here, trying every means to save a child in his stomach, and trying every means to kill another child. She did not believe that Knight would not have its own purpose and premeditation. In front of him, after the Knight explained on the hand of the Western old man, An energy ball condensed by the blue fighting spirit flashed slightly, and then directly threw it towards the knight. The action of the Western old man seems casual, as if he just pushed something at random. The speed of the energy ball is not fast. Even just with the eyes can see his moving track, as if a lotus floating in the wind in general, gently moving towards this side. Knight hand black energy condensation. In this border, all his strength has been magnified several times in the face of the Western old master, but he is not afraid. Black power in the twinkling of an eye toward the blue ball quickly attacked in the past. It's the same as the old man, but the speed of the black energy is very fast. But in the twinkling of an eye, they came near the old man's blue energy ball, and they collided. Yunwu quickly stepped back. Before he had time to move, he felt an arm at his waist help him. With a strong pull, they directly pulled Yunwu to his arms. Then, they whirled back for a long time. The deformation of cloud dance conditioned reflex wants to attack toward the knight, and the hand on his waist seems to be threatening the child in his stomach at any time. Cloud dance is almost nervous, even if the knight is a little bit closer, not to mention at this time he also directly pulled himself in his arms. However, before Yunwu had any action, he felt that his arm at his waist was loose, and the knight put her down directly. At the same time, the two forces in front collided and made a loud noise. It's just the two men's casual attack, which caused a sensation as if they were fighting against Shangwen's Hong. Cloud dance pupil suddenly constricts. These two people, how fierce in the end. The smoke dispersed, and in the dark, Yunwu saw that the black energy had already disappeared, but the blue energy ball was still drifting towards this side, flying for a long distance, and finally seemed to be unable to support it. Bang was broken. When the sword came, the old man did not dodge anymore. Instead, he wrapped his whole body with blue fighting spirit, forming a solid protective film. Especially on the two palms, the concentration of fighting spirit is much stronger than other places. 5 is dark blue fighting spirit, which is closer to purple at this time. Is he trying to catch the blade with nothing? I don't even show my weapon. Yunwu guessed in his heart that the sword of the knight had been sent to the old man of the West with great power. The hand wrapped by the blue fighting spirit flexibly grasped the stabbing sword under the cloud dance's eyes. Then, both hands moved to one side at the same time. The lower part of the body did not move, and the upper part of the body shook at will. This blow was resolved. Taiji again. Yunwu exclaimed in his heart that the old man's moves were really different. At this time, the knight suddenly laughed, said, "You really step back." From the moment of contact between the two people's strength, Knight will clearly feel the strength of the old man. The sword grasped by the old man turned hard, and the black energy above suddenly burst up. Just now, I was trapped in the blue fighting spirit of my hands. Now, this sudden force has exploded those hands directly, and even the blue fighting spirit of my hands has become thin. Then, the sword light flickered. It was clearly a black sword, but Yunwu still clearly saw the reflected sword light. The sword shuttles between the two people, mercilessly attacking the Western elders again and again. Don't waste your efforts. You must know that you can't win. Nightlight said. The voice in the cloud's ears seems to want to tell her, don't forget to have other thoughts. Cloud dance takes back the line of sight that puts on two people's body, slightly droops the eye, covered the anger in the eye. At this moment, she hated herself very much. Why didn't she work harder? If she had enough strength, how could she be trapped here and let others decide? The battle is not over yet, said the old man. It's not over. The corner of a knight mouth a hook. The attack on the hand is invariable, still matchless, swift, and violent. That lets him end good. After that, the speed of the knight's sword again, and the black sword made a sound of woo between waving, as if someone was crying. The sudden attack was extremely rapid, and the pupils of the Western elders shrank suddenly. His moves are similar to Tai Chi, so no matter how fast they can't be too fast. However, he is good at attacking quickly. In this way, he has no way at all. Finally, Under the attack of the sword, the Western elders become more and more embarrassed and can no longer keep up with the speed. Knight saw an opportunity, instantly seized a flaw of the Western old man, directly fly up a foot, clean kick in a Western old man's chest, will be originally steady on the ground of his hard kick fly out. Knight is so strong. Yunwu exclaimed in his heart that the old man's strength is so strong, but the knight can beat him. No wonder he can take her quietly among so many experts in the Cloud family. No wonder she can't beat him. I said you can't win. Knight, casual smile, step by step close to the Western old man, clenched the sword on the hand. At this time, the old man in the West suddenly laughed. I really can't beat you. I didn't expect that you had become so powerful after so many years. But do you really think I came alone? As soon as the voice fell, the knight suddenly changed face. Then, without hesitation, he planned to kill the Western elder directly. But then a slanting attack from the power directly hit on the sword. Hard to attack the sword in the past hit the side. A figure directly rushed over, barehanded, body was wrapped in fighting spirit. Wind and fire toward the knight, wrapped up. 3 figures appeared one after another, and the other 3 old men all appeared. How about second brother? The old man from the north helped up the old man from the west and explored his injury. He was relieved after making sure there was no problem. No harm. The Western old man said, I didn't expect that his strength is so strong. The girl is over there. The old man from the east and the old man from the north immediately looked over. Their eyes stopped on Yunwu's stomach, and Yunwu's conditioned reflex covered their stomach. The old man of the east immediately decided, take the people away first, and then help the third brother. The other 2 nodded, and the 3 quickly flew towards Yunwu. All the goals were in Yunwu's belly. Cloud Dance's heart clattered. Because pregnant and clumsy body at this time did not dare to be careless. Purple fighting spirit instantly wrapped the whole body, Guwu's sword in hand, even in vain to fight. Yunwu knows that it's best for her to find a way to escape at this time. But since she has been targeted, how can she escape so easily? The 3 elders came to the front in a flash. Before Yunwu had time to start, he heard a loud drink. Dare to touch her then. With a whoosh, a long sword flew directly to this side, separated by 3 elders and Yunwu. Then Knight desperately asked the old man of the south to entangle, with the fastest speed to fly over the Cloud Dance behind. The Oriental old man's face sank and looked at the sudden appearance of the knight. Without saying a word, he called the pass directly. Knight will pick up the sword, directly up, 1 against 4. At this time, Yunwu finally saw the real strength of the knight. Under the attack of the 4 elders, the knight was like an angry lion. It was extremely fierce. No, I can't stay here any longer. Yunwu thought in her heart that no matter the knight or the 4 old men, their goal is to let their children die, but there is only one death or 2. In this case, why is she here? At present, Yunwu made a decision directly: escape. Think of here, Cloud danced slowly backward, looking at the front of the 5 people fighting together, who did not notice her. So straight turn, toward the outside. Yunwu ran all the way forward, and from time to time she turned her head and looked behind her, because it was a threat to her that 4 old men or any one of them caught up with her. I don't know how long Yunwu has been running, but suddenly she hears a rush of disordered footsteps behind her. Yunwu's heart sinks, and her fighting spirit has wrapped her whole body. She holds the ancient martial arts sword in her hand and intends to be ready for defense at any time. But when she saw who was behind her, she was suddenly stunned. But then it was a happy night, and it was a night of serious injury, looking in a hurry, very embarrassed. Seeing such a miserable night, Yunwu only felt comfortable. If it wasn't for the 4 old men, she would have hoped that he would hang up. Night at this time has been panting, came to the cloud in front of the eyes, full of ferocious. Yunwu takes a deep breath. Just as he is preparing to fight against the knight suddenly flashes to Yunwu, grabs Yunwu's wrist, hardly gives Yunwu the chance to resist, turns around, and continues to fly forward. Yunwu, I advise you to come with me now, because, these 4 people are going to kill your child, but I am not. I hope you will give birth to your child. The knight coughed twice, coughed up a mouthful of blood, his face a little pale, obviously suffered a lot of injury. He looked behind him. It seemed that no one had caught up with him. There was no one on the road in front of him. Obviously, it was very late at night. Yunwu was staggered by the night, but she agreed with the knight very much, because now it seems that at least with the knight, she can still protect herself. So she quickened her pace and let the knight pull her and run forward. The streets in front of us are all dead. If we hadn't seen the residents before, Yunwu would think this place is a dead city. Cloud Dance and Knight, 2 people keep running forward because they're afraid of being chased by 4 old people, so they turn left and right and walk around in this space. I'm afraid that Yunwu's child will be born in 2 days, so he doesn't plan to leave here with Yunwu at all. Finally, it was a long distance away from the dark place that they finally breathed. They hid in an abandoned house and observed for a long time. When they saw that no one was chasing them, they finally breathed. They collapsed to the ground. Cloud Dance, how do you feel now? The knight vomited blood phlegm, leaned on the door, turned his head, and looked at the Cloud Dance sitting beside him, panting heavily. Yunwu shook her head, but didn't speak. She didn't want to have too much contact with this person, so she closed her eyes and continued to breathe. Originally because of this heavy stomach, so now, Yunwu has felt very easy to get tired. She knows that if she continues like this, she will have little time left. Suddenly, I heard the voice of the people around me. When Yunwu opened his eyes, he saw that the knight had already stood up and put all the firewood on the ground. You wait here. I'll find something to eat. Knight vomited breath, pushed the door, and went out. Don't start the fire now. I'm afraid you can't handle it alone. Yunwu's heart moved. If it wasn't for this person who imprisoned herself there, she would really think that this person is a very gentle and kind person now. Close your eyes and don't respond to him. Just continue to look inside your body. The door was pushed open and then closed. Yunwu raised his head, looked at the shadow of the night, and slowly disappeared at the door's side. Both Yunwu and Yewu are smart people. They all know that it's not good for anyone to leave now. At this time, what Yewu wants most is in Yunwu's stomach, and Yunwu also wants her children to survive. So now the knight is very calm, and he doesn't monitor Yunwu as before and doesn't put Yunwu in this room because he knows that the smart Yunwu won't escape from this room and his side now. Yunwu closed her eyes for a while and gradually relaxed her nerves, but she didn't relax her vigilance because she knew that the 4 old men would come at any time. For a long time, Knight still didn't come back. Yunwu was leaning against the wall and was about to fall asleep. Now, because of her pregnancy, the source of her life was consumed seriously, so she was easily tired. Trapped to the whole person are dizzy. Yunwu still did not wait until the night back. The heart is still thinking about whether the knight encountered any trouble. After a long time, finally the door was opened. Yunwu opened his eyes and looked in front of him. He saw that the knight was more embarrassed and his whole body was injured. He limped in, closed the door, and inserted it. Then he sat down, gasped, put the animal corpse on the ground, and said, "Light the fire and barbecue." Cloud Dance frowned tightly. It was obvious that this man had met the 4 elders. He lowered his head to light a fire and asked, didn't he attract the 4 elders? The knight coughed twice, leaned against the wall, closed his eyes, frowned, and couldn't help taking a breath of air conditioning. His tone sounded tired, but he was still as lazy as ever. Don't worry, I will ensure your safety, so I must get rid of them. Yunwu said nothing and carefully picked up the animals in his hands. His anger eased slightly. This man, in fact, ran out to look for prey because he was afraid that his physical strength could not keep up with him and was attacked by the 4 old men. The fire crackled. Yunwu found 2 branches and put the 2 rabbits on them to bake. The light of the fire reflected on their faces. Silence for a long time, 2 people who did not speak, just quietly looking at the rabbit in front of the flow of oil roasted. Night frowned at Cloud Dance. For a long time, Cloud Dance finally broke the silence. Night, you tell me what's the use of getting my children? As the clouds whirled the branches, the rabbit was scorched. But the knight just shook his head and sighed. Obviously, his attitude was that he didn't plan to carry on this topic. Cloud, dance hard angry, also helpless, had to continue to roast rabbit. After a long time, I finally roasted 2 rabbits, silently picked up a rabbit and gave it to Knight. I also tore a piece and ate it slowly. We'll have enough spirit tonight, but tomorrow we'll have to go far. Knight ate a bite, said, now the 4 old people are scattered around. Continue to look for a figure. If we don't walk, it is likely that we will soon run into these people. The cloud danced well and still didn't speak, eating food. After eating for a while, they felt that they were not so hungry. Then they fell asleep with their clothes. One night, the fire burned out. When he opened his eyes again, Yunwu saw that the knight was standing outside the door. He turned to look at her and said, "Let's go. Let's get out of here." The cloud rises and leaves the abandoned house with the knight. After walking for a long time, they saw the dim sun in the overcast sky and finally tilted from the top to the back. At night, they turned to look at a hill beside them, pointed to the clouds, and said, "Let's go here tonight. I think this place is relatively high, so it's easy to observe, and we can react in time." Didn't nod his head or shake his head, but the night was the consent of the cloud dance. After all, everything has the final say of night. The 2 men raised their legs and walked up the mountain. On that hill, the trees are luxuriant and even the leaves are black, but it's more secret than the houses. If you really meet them, running away in the woods can slow them down. All of a sudden, Yunwu saw a huge tree in front of him. The tree was so big that he couldn't see the end at a glance. I'm afraid it would take 17 or 18 people to embrace it. I think this tree should be able to cover up. Cloud Dance Way alone walked in the past. Night, watching Cloud Dance walk in the past, also hurried to the other side. What surprised them even more was that there was a huge hole in the tree. The size of the hole was smaller than a bedroom in Yunfu. Suddenly, their eyes lit up. Walking into the tree cave, I suddenly felt that there was no wind blowing at night, and it was warmer. After watching the clouds and the night in the tree cave for a long time, I finally sat down. The forest was full of birds and animals, and it was easy to hit the prey, and then deal with it, light a fire in the tree hole, ready to eat something to save energy. But at this time, Yunwu suddenly heard someone's footsteps outside and suddenly became nervous. They quickly kicked out the fire in front of them, one left and one right guarding at the entrance of the cave, and no one spoke, quietly listening to the situation outside. I only heard the footsteps of one person outside, which made Yunwu and the knight feel relieved. Night turned to see Cloud Dance. Compared with the gesture of killing when walking in, Cloud Dance instantly understood and nodded. He bowed his head and pondered for a moment. Yunwu thought about how to introduce the people in front of him. Suddenly, he heard a surprised voice from outside. "There's the smell of barbecue here." Yunwu's heart sank. Sure enough, it was the voice of the old man in the south. He heard the old man say, "Don't say, I'm really hungry after walking for so long." With that, I heard the footsteps coming closer and closer. Yunwu is nervous. Looking at the knight, she also frowns and purses her mouth. Obviously, she didn't expect that the old man in the south had found it. Night toward Cloud Dance nod. 2 people will take the weapon in the hand, quietly waiting. Finally, the sound of the footstep came to the door, and Night and Cloud Dance also make silent gesture to each other. They have their own weapons. All of a sudden, a foot came in. Suddenly, Cloud Dance and Night heard the voice of the old man from the south, ecstatic. Sure enough, there is Kauruo here. Then the old people in the south did not look around to see if there were other people living there, so they sat there and ate. The Cloud Dance and the Night looked confused. Suddenly, the knight clenched the weapon in his hand, turned to see Yunwu, nodded to Yunwu, and then, suddenly holding his own weapon, rushed up. The old people in the south are eating well. Obviously, they didn't expect that someone would attack them. They suddenly got a fright, stuck the meat in their throat, coughed hard, and tears were coming out. Yunwu and Ye cut off the neck of the old people in the south one after another. And Cloud danced this knife, cut with all one's strength. However, even so, The old man in the south opened his eyes with barbecue, but he didn't seem to care at all. Instead, he ate it quietly. Obviously, although he was fighting, he didn't intend to give up his delicious food. He was still eating in his mouth and muttered, "Look, what did I say? They are here as expected." Then he burst out laughing. It felt like the joy that the child finally got the sugar. All of a sudden, the hand of the meat is still on the ground, fists immediately wrapped up fighting, hard hit in the past. But Yunwu didn't expect that. Although the strength of the old people in the south was expected, it still surprised Yunwu. She felt a strong pressure in the tree cave, which made her gasp for breath. She took a step back, held the big sword in her hand, and cut hard. The old man's fist and the cloud dance's sword. Such an obvious difference of victory and defeat. But I didn't expect that when I contacted the old man, Yunwu had already been bounced away. Then, the fighting spirit from the old man hit Yunwu's stomach. Bang! Cloud, dance, eat pain. Hurry to protect the stomach. This finally did not let the child have any danger. Dance continued to hold his own ancient sword, ready to swing on, but suddenly heard the voice of the knight behind. "Don't fight. We escape. Soon the others will come without saying a word." Yunwu slashes at the old man in the south, and leaves with the knight in the empty place where the old man is hiding. In a hurry, they ran back to the street. Yunwu were exhausted. They turned to look behind them. There was no one, but they couldn't take it too lightly. In case an old man suddenly appeared again, I'm afraid they couldn't deal with it. All of a sudden, they heard a voice of abuse behind them. It was the voice of the southern elders. It was obvious that the 4 elders had come out and began to look for 2 people in this place. Today, I'm afraid they would not stop killing them. Knight secretly gnashed teeth, pull cloud dance side flash into an alley. The lane was very narrow. Yunwu and Yi Tu could only walk by one. They heard the voices of several old people getting closer and closer. Yunwu was also anxious. He turned to look behind him and in front of him. The narrow alley was coming to an end. But at this time, suddenly heard behind a clear voice, "I see them. They are in this alley." Night and cloud dance are not good at the same time. When you turn your head and look behind you, you can see the western old man, smiling and affable. He slowly comes here, but there are few old people left. The secret way in Yunwu's heart is not good. These people won't leave one person to act alone now. It must be that other people are around. When they feel around, it's not surprising that 4 people with high level are all around them. Night will cloud dance behind him. The dark energy on his body rises abruptly, and he walks forward slowly with a cold sweat on his forehead. And the cloud dance in the night behind. In the heart also a burst of tension. There's always a kind of ominous premonition. "Hey, baby, where else do you want to go?" Suddenly, right above the cloud dance, there was a sound of laughter, which immediately made the cloud dance's brain hum. Instinctively, he threw up the ancient sword and cut it up. But the old man, with a smile, jumped from a roof to avoid the big sword. Yunwu stepped back in fright. When he looked around, he found that the 4 old men had surrounded them. They were trapped in this narrow alley. "Are you too tired from running around? In the end, we still caught you." The old man in the south smoothed his beard and laughed, obviously very proud. Cloud danced 2 people but frown, back to back. High alert, Cloud Dance stand behind the knight. Low voice sneer way. "I reluctantly cooperate with you once." The knight bowed his head and laughed, but he didn't speak. Suddenly, he heard the voice of the old man in the east behind him. Cloud Dance called out to be careful. In an instant, the old man in the south came from front of him with a strong wind. "Be careful, too," Knight said. Suddenly, the whole body is wrapped up by the dark energy towards the direction of the south old man, rushed up. Western elders smile and squint. White hair and white beard are very elegant. But Yunwu knows that he can't wait to die. If this goes on, I'm afraid it's them who will succeed. They've come here, so let's fight. Cloud Dance drinks a low. The big knife infuses the thunder element, throws to the Western elder. But the figure of the Western old man suddenly flashed in front of Yunwu and disappeared in a moment. Yunwu is in a state of astonishment, but he feels a breath around him, slowly attacking himself. Although it's slow, but I don't know why. Yunwu can't avoid it at all. The figure of the Western old man suddenly appeared beside him. His hand slowly raised and drew an arc in the void. Then, his hand touched the knife of Cloud Dance. Yunwu tried his best to cut it down, but the old man gently pushed it to one side, then turned his hand to pass the power back. Yunwu exclaimed in surprise. The strength she had just cut back suddenly came back to her. Yunwu had no time to react and had been pushed to the wall. Out of instinct, Yunwu concentrated all her fighting spirit on her back. With a bang, Yunwu felt that the wall behind her was shaking 3 times. She fell to the ground with a plop. With a grin, Yunwu felt that her blood was surging and she almost vomited blood. She reluctantly swallowed it. Yunwu stood up and saw the old man standing in front of her with a smile. Yunwu's eyes are full of murderous spirit. She carefully looks at the old man in front of her. She thinks that these people are too strong for herself and Night to defeat them. She has to find a way to escape. And the Night around, also looking around, obviously in their own ideas, ready to find a chance to escape. For old men, guarding in 4 directions did not let go at all, which made Yunwu feel heavy, panting heavily in the night, coughing gently. Obviously, the injury was not light. Yunwu was also a little exhausted, and her stomach was heavy as if to tear her apart. Cloud Dance and the heart nervous. She felt that she was about to be unable to support. If you don't run away, may be born here. Her stomach was aching. Yunwu clenched her teeth and kept silent. The heavy guwu sword in her hand made her hands tremble. In the tense atmosphere, I feel a little bit of movement. The 4 elders will come forward immediately and kill Yunwu. Yunwu breathed in his heart and told himself to keep calm. However, now the 4 old men are all in a state of fighting. In fact, they don't intend to stay alive, so they are ruthless. Yunwu was panting. She looked down at her stomach. Her stomach became more and more heavy. In addition, Giant Baby was tumbling restlessly inside. It seemed that she was protesting against such a big movement of Yunwu. Yunwu felt that her physical strength and willpower were reaching the limit. The cold sweat kept flowing. Soon wet clothes was blown by the wind, immediately cold to the bone. Yunwu turned to look at the Night, and the Night was panting, obviously very tired. His body was full of wounds. Although there was no blood in his black robe, the foot of the Night had dripping a piece of scarlet, and his face was pale. Judging from the current situation and the state of the Night, if the 4 of them had to kill Yunwu, maybe the Night could not save Yunwu. But now, what Yunwu needs most is to live and save her physical strength, because if she wants to save her children, she must leave alive. A burst of tension in my heart. Cloud Dance frowned, but my brain was running at a high speed, thinking about how to escape, but I heard the Night behind me suddenly give a big drink and attack one of the old people. One of them suddenly laughed, and then, without dodging, galloped away towards the Night. When Yunwu saw that the war was on the verge of breaking out, she thought that maybe these people could stop the Night and then take this opportunity to escape. However, when she turned around, she saw the Western Elder standing in front of her and smiling at Yunwu. Yunwu felt a burst of anger in his heart. He suddenly waved Guwu's sword, gave a roar, and cut off the head of the Western old man in front of him. Learning from the lessons of the last time, Yunwu learned the skills used by the old man in the West. The old man used the method of relying on his strength. The greater his strength, the greater his rebound strength. Therefore, Yunwu naturally avoided direct contact with him. At the moment when the old man was about to be cut down, Yunwu suddenly took the old man back, then turned around and whirled to the back of the Western old man, attacking him from behind. But the old man in the West is still smiling and calm. Obviously, he had already known that Yunwu was going to do this. He stepped back and turned slightly. Cloud Dance heart sink. The old man's body method is too strange. The old man's hand has already touched the big sword of Cloud Dance again. But this time, instead of relying on his strength, the old man suddenly pushes back the big sword in front of him. Yunwu staggers a few steps and almost falls down. Her brow is locked by her tumbling stomach. This person can overcome hardness with softness, and can overcome hardness with hardness. It seems that there is no flaw in this body method. Suddenly, I heard a dull hum behind me. When Yunwoo turned his head, he saw the knight staggering backward for several steps, then holding the wall, panting violently, with blood hanging on the corner of his mouth, looking at the four old men in front of him viciously. Yunwoo frowned. She didn't know how to help him. She even felt a little elated because it was too painful when she was imprisoned the night before. But now is not the time to be willful. Now we are facing the pursuit of the four elders. Only Night can let Yunwoo guarantee her life. At least with the Night, the child in Yunwoo's belly will not die. But all of a sudden, the Night suddenly fierce, issued a roar, and then in front of the old man fly out, the old man eat pain, stuffy hum, but did not speak. Once again came to his face, mouth still with blood. Everyone gasped, and the Night looked around. He seemed to be looking for a way to let them go. Cloud danced with a sword in his hand, looking at other people around, quite alert. In the night after death, I don't know what I'm thinking. Yunwoo is secretly observing the attack characteristics of each old man, and is ready to find out their space and leave. Night suddenly forward is a palm to the side of the east old man, but it was dissolved one by the oriental elders. However, Night seems to be crazy, try to attack in the direction of a person, obviously already very angry. Just at this time, the Night behind suddenly grabbed Yunwoo's hand and took her to one side of the alley. But now, Yunwoo obviously feels that her child is about to be born. In this state of crisis, she can't run far. The cloud dances, which is dragged forward and gallops forward, turns to look behind, but sees that the four old people behind are still chasing, but they are not close to each other. It feels like watching the prey in their palm, struggling to escape. Suddenly, her heart sank. Yunwoo looked at the Night in front of her. With a sneer, she suddenly took Guwoo's sword in her hand and cut it down on the back of the Night. The Night heard the roaring sword from behind, but he didn't respond because he was fighting against the old man in front of him, and he couldn't believe that he had walked so far in the clouds for so many days. At this time, the four old men had already come behind them. The Night didn't expect that the cloud dance without any action these days would cut itself. He was unprepared for Yunwoo, so this knife was firmly cut on his back. At the same time, his body made an instinctive reaction, which made him bend down to avoid. Night almost a staggering kneel on the ground. Quickly get up to help. The figure of the four elders immediately came. For people have opened their eyes, face unbelievable, because all along, Yunwoo is under the protection of Night. But now, Cloud Dance actually cut the Night with a backhand knife, which made the four old people confused and stunned for a long time. I said, "What are you old folks doing? Why don't you go and catch the Cloud Dance?" The old man in the south jumped up angrily, and without saying a word, he hit Yunwoo with a fist. Cloud Dance's heart suddenly sank. She is now gambling. Gambling Night will let her be killed. Suddenly, the Night moved. He clenched his teeth, took a breath, suddenly jumped in front of Yunwoo, raised his palm, and faced the old man's fist in the south. In a flash, the remaining three old people all followed up. Suddenly, the Night vomited blood and turned pale. Cloud Dance see this opportunity, quickly turned away. The four elders and the Night haven't reacted yet, but the Night is still fighting to protect the Cloud Dance behind. The elder tries his best to get rid of the Night in front of him. Yunwoo ran forward in a hurry, but with a stomachache in her eyes, she couldn't see the road clearly and ran forward in a bumpy way. But now, not only the power of life is empty, but also her own strength is in a weak state. Not only that, the contract beast and chaos hall are useless, and she can't open the border of darkness. Turn your head and look behind you. Yunwoo feels that the five people behind you must have noticed it now. Slowly, they will catch up. Yunwoo gasped and felt very desperate. The dark sky seems to have been splashed with ink. Yunwoo's mood at this time is the same as the color of the sky. She is sweating and her mouth is open, but she still feels suffocated. The pain makes her pale. Finally, she collapsed under a tree. With dizziness and pain in her stomach, Yunwoo already felt that she was dying. She frowned and covered her stomach. She felt that the child in her stomach was restless. Yunwoo begged the two children to be safe in this desperate situation, but their stomachs began to ache. Yunwoo couldn't help biting his lips, and immediately his lips were full of blood. Paralyzed under the tree, the cloud dances, the heart is as dead as ashes soon. The four old people will follow up, and then they will kill their own children. Sigh, close your eyes, heart. I'm afraid today life will be buried here. A wry smile thought, if you die here with the children, is also a good choice. But at this time, Yunwoo felt his wrist tremble. He opened his heavy eyes and looked at his wrist. He saw a purple light coming out. Then, a round little thing suddenly appeared in front of her. Yunwoo's eyes lit up slightly. He reached out and caught the little ball in front of her. The little Taonzi was lying in the palm of Yunwoo's hand, trembling. Yunwoo looked at the little thing, a little strange. This little thing suddenly, behind the little thing, two little wings pop out. Then, two big round eyes also opened. It looked around in confusion, and then turned his head to see the clouds in front of him. Suddenly, Surprise fanned his small wings, blinked big eyes, intimately with his round body to touch Yunwoo's cheek. Yunwoo's heart was soft, and his brain suddenly remembered that this little thing was the descendant of poor Chi. At the beginning, when Yunwoo was in the Gate of Beasts, he brought it out from the base underground. At that time, it was named Little Potato, but later, because Bai Lao was sleeping, so Little Potato also went to sleep with him. But I didn't expect that Yunwoo was so weak that he couldn't even summon Chaos Hall and contract Beast, but the Little Potato was not bound by the border. Yunwoo was very happy. Suddenly hearing the footsteps behind, Yunwoo suddenly regained his mind. Looking behind him, he found that the four old men had caught up with him. In a heart anxious, in the hand one Lin, the ancient martial arts big knife once again tightly grasped in the hand. That you're tuning in to the Romance Rendezvous YouTube channel. We're so grateful for your support, and don't forget to subscribe to join us on this incredible journey through captivating stories. Your generosity through donations truly makes a world of difference, as it's the primary source of revenue that allows me to expand and enhance this channel for you. Thank you from the bottom of my heart for being a part of this adventure.